we went back in the VOD, and I remember sitting there with Kelsey, and we played 18 Watch Point Gibraltar. 18. It was 5:30 in the morning. Be there, and we had to play ranked till 3 a.m. every day. And he would come and check. He would come and check at 3 a.m. if you were in the room. And so one time, I finished at 2:55, and I'm like, I'm not queuing another game. Like, come off it. And so I went up to bed, and he came down at 3 o'clock to the practice apartment. He's like, "Where are you?" And messaging me. I'm like, "In bed." And he's like, "What the f are you doing? It's not 3 a.m. Like, you need to come back." And so I got up out of bed, and I went back down to this playing room, and I played one more game.
I think that was a big problem with like Huck's Boston overall, is that they were just incredibly famous for lying to everyone, you know? Like they would always have Huck Mineral in your ear telling you, you know, we're going to move you up, we're going to promote you. You know, you sign this contract, you're going to come to the main team. We've got eyes on you, and we want you for the main team. You need to sign this hellish 17-year contract on Uprising Academy first. Oh, watching them lose was amazing.
I remember because you were casting it, but the final fight, Sam just walks onto cart as May and just forgets that he shouldn't waste his ice block, and Lenny just goes, "I'm gonna freeze him out, I'm freeze him out." He just freezes the whole team. Like, I love watching people lose. It's such a cynical thing. I think everyone does in Overwatch, especially.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode 11 of Uncoachable. Our guest today is Australian, and not just any Australian like we normally have on the podcast, but potentially the greatest Australian Overwatch player of all time. So it sort of got me thinking about great Australians and what sort of category could this guy enter into? Maybe Shane Warne, legendary spin bowler. Maybe that's a bit too high. Maybe Kathy Freeman, the iconic 400-meter gold medal at the Sydney Olympics. Iconic moment for Australia and the Aboriginal people, but didn't seem like quite the right fit. So I started going to other industries. So I thought Rupert Murdoch, he was potentially the GOAT of the GOAT news empire across the world. Does that match our guest achievement in Overwatch? And I thought, again, it's not quite right. And then I found the perfect one. Not everyone will know this, but Stephen Bradbury won gold medal for Australia at the 2002 Winter Olympics. Some of you might not have seen it, so I've got the race for everyone now. So this is the final five of the gold medal at the Winter Olympics. Our boy Stephen Bradbury is in the green at the back here. We'll fast forward a little bit because there's quite a few laps in 1,000 meters. So 7 laps to go. We can see Stephen Bradbury still at the back. We get a little bit closer. Stephen Bradbury, he's even further at the back here. 2 laps to go. Come on, Steve. How's he going to win it from here? It's going to have to be miraculous. We get to the final corner, and it's an absolute disaster. Everyone's got over. Stephen Bradbury comes in, and I thought, this is what it's like to be the greatest Australian Overwatch player of all time. You're in first place. You get the gold medal, but it's mainly because everyone else has done a lot of falling over in the meantime. And that brings
copyright striked for that. What we just did is this already.
The Olympics don't have any lawyers. Don't worry about it.
The Olympics are coming after us.
Right, Trill walks so I could run. He's one of the fellas on the floor right there.
Him and Custer just on the floor, letting you in. Are you happy with that? You feel like that's a suitable analogy for being the greatest Overwatch player from Australia of all time?
Mate, when you got to Rupert Murdoch, I was like, I'm not sure where this could go, but I pulled it back. So yeah, I'm pleased with that one. Household name.
We've compared people to worse than Rupert Murdoch in this podcast. Don't worry about that. It's basically a compliment.
Just start the Hitler count. Just.
Well, this maybe gives us a good place to start. Now we've sort of brought in to the world of physical traditional sport and physical punishment. And we can maybe just start right off with probably one of our most requested topics is what the hell was going on with Laurie and what sort of horrific punishments did you and the Boston boys have to endure?
Mate, let's bring it back to when I first joined. When Laurie first joined, it was 2021 off season. And the first bit I get with this guy was me playing on Korean servers, and he was in my ear and in everyone else's ear, just, talking as he does, telling you what to do. And then he pulled me over for a feedback afterwards, and we played O2 Blast, but they're like open division team at the time, and Max was on it, I remember. And he was comparing me to this guy and he's like, "This cunt is so much better than you. You are dog shit. You shouldn't be in Overwatch League. He's an open division player. Like, how are you losing to this?" And I'm like, "Hold on, who is this guy?" And it just, mate, from day one, he was just such a prick. So there was a lot of questioning what I'm doing with my life at that point. That was before we actually went to Boston, so I hadn't met him, didn't know what he was like, and the only thing I got told was Mineral and Huck. They were like, "Yeah, he's had some military experience. He's a bit tough, but he gets it going." WGS, they just came off their win, and I was like, "Yeah, mate, I trust you." We went from the roster we had the year before with some holes in it to potential, at least at the very start of the year, and he'd make us do laps. He wouldn't let me eat. He had all of us, mate. He did. I was fit, man. Like, we were running. I wasn't eating. We would do 3-hour VOD reviews where we'd have to be in a push-up plank position.
What?
Hang on.
So he'd call us in. We'd watch the whole map like really slowly. It took one map for 1 hour, and as soon as one of us did a mistake or something, and he'd be like, "What'd you do wrong?" And unless you gave him exactly what he wanted, or to be honest, it probably wouldn't even matter, he would say, "Get down." And then I was like, "What?" And then the Koreans, they knew what to do. They got poor little Hongyu on all fours, just holding there for the rest of the VOD review, which went on for another 2 hours. And like, he wouldn't say get up until he felt bad or something, but he wouldn't really feel bad. So, and keep in mind, we had not the fittest team. I mean, Overwatch players, myself included, at the time, we were not the peak performance, but he really whipped us into shape. And he had I'm 37 down, Holden for a long time. He had a lot of other people, so punishments were bad.
Did little Hongyu come out of that year with like washboard abs or something? Because I can't imagine that guy was doing much other than planking all year round.
Yeah, no, he's tough. He's tough now, but he was one of the ones who loved Laurie, and they all did. But
they appreciated being told.
Yeah, they were grateful for what he was doing. He was, he was the coach. He was the physical coach, PT, like 2-for-1 deal. So
yeah, no, that's value.
Yeah,
Huck was always looking to get like an extra $1 out of the roster, was my understanding. So getting a PT on the side probably not a bad
Huck
shot.
was playing Moneyball. Is like, Laurie gets on base here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, was there much fun if you look into the previous year, like pre-Laurie? Because I mean, when Huck really like fully moneyballed your roster, I mean, it felt like every year was a piss take in terms of Huck just like gambling hard on trying to find the next striker. But was there anything fun in 2020, or was it just like an endless cycle of misery and losing?
Dude, I got so fat in 2020. I think I put on 15 kilos or something in like 2 months, just because it was just so bad. I mean, this is a long time ago. It was pretty stupid, but like, we had no fun. We would end up, it was me, Cam, Fusions, and Colourhex, and we just sank piss like on as soon as swim's over on the off day. Like, right, boys, we're going out to the balcony, because there was nothing to do. We lived in the middle of fucking nowhere in Massachusetts, like out in the sticks.
In Shazza?
No, it wasn't at Shazzy. It was I think it was Norfolk. So another household name of suburbs. But I mean, hanging out with the boys was good, but when it came to playing the game, it was pretty bad. I think we came off the high of me coming and winning our first game against the Glads, and then after that, it just went straight away. Myungbong threw in the towel. It was over.
Threw in the towel. Did he have a little bit of a giving up moment?
Yeah, him and Jerry would play League all day
Poor
and
Jezza.
just scream. Mate, he was such a kind soul, but yeah, no, it didn't. There was no light in that house at the time. So,
are we talking like natural light or optimism here?
All the same. It just wasn't. No, there was no hope in that house, and we had poor Mike, betting on the stock market. Our manager, he every morning would just sit there with his 3 monitors, just waiting for his little dopamine fix. Oh, did I go up today? Like we were scraping for what we could do in that house.
Okay, so happiness usually came when Saywolf would make a couple of bucks shorting or whatever it was on the stock exchange. Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty hard to come by, but we made do.
Country boys.
So then, for his rewards, Mineral gets promoted from head coach of that season to GM next season.
Oh, it'd be rude not to. I mean,
that performance. How many wins did he get?
I saw that and thought, yes.
How many wins did he get that season where he got his promotion?
2. He got 2, but 2 wins.
Well,
in the whole season.
It was the toilet bowl, right?
All right.
The famous 7 mapper with Outlaws. That was before I was there, and then the first game I got there, Glads, and that was it. So he saw something in those games, potential.
Vision. Yeah.
So then, yeah, because Mineral gets promoted, and then you actually keep a lot of the same roster as well.
Yeah.
So what were the thoughts going into this season, or the season after, where you're like, it's a lot of the same guys, Laurie comes in. Was the expectations?
I was just trying to stay in, to be honest. I was like, fuck. Because I only got in because, I think I've said this before, but the COVID rules of the craft group company only allowed an American citizen to join the team, because it was Brucen and Muffin before me, the 2 off tanks they went with, and then Muffin, yeah, he did whatever he did, and then Brucen.
No comment from me. No comment.
No. Anything from anyone?
No comment.
No, nothing to ask.
All right. And then Brucen called it quits, and so I came in because it was going to be Icy, actually. Fusion was doing with Icy like every day, and then it turns out he was Canadian, and so I could only join. I was the only one who could join ever, because they needed an American. I think there was like no American tanks at that point. So I was just trying to keep in the league, going into the next year. And then Huck's talking to me. He's like, how did Ascoft do? Like, what was Mineral? And I was like, yeah, Mineral's a good bloke.
Promote him, GM.
Give him a raise, give him a job. And clearly from what I said, he thought, yeah, that's what he's saying. So he got promoted. And then Laurie, he was saying, this guy's good. Like, he's got the vision. He's won contenders. He's got Valentine, and I'm sitting at home in the offset, and I'm watching them win against Runaway or something in that one. It was their one trick meta. It was Brig, Echo, Monkey, Diva or something, and like they were shitting on Runaway very closely, 4-3 I think. But
shitting on him.
Yeah,
respectful shitting on.
Very close, entertaining shitting on. And he was like, yeah, these guys are good. We're going to mix the roster. It's going to be sick. We're going to have you, Fusions, Colourhex. I was like, mate, it sounds good to me. And yeah, little did I know that would be an interesting 2 years of my life. So go on.
Just for some context for the poor viewers here, Punky's an American citizen. So when he was saying, we really needed an American for Boston Uprising, so they picked me, the greatest Australian player to ever live. Punky's got an American passport, so he can sneak in under those rules and not need a visa.
I'm sure you could put that together.
Yeah. You
the
don't know the average
Uncoachable
Uncoachable viewer, mate.
Well, I'm sure there's someone in the gym here just listening, and maybe he doesn't get it. So
now they get it.
There's someone that doesn't know the truth about you, mate.
Because
well.
Do you have any idea? I don't know. This is uncoachable. You can only see. Do you know how much like Valentine and that was paid? Because every season in Overwatch League, right, there's always that one Korean guy that like, oh, this guy is the fucking next thing, right? When Sparkle came in season 3, everybody wanted Sparkle. Like Paris got him, but every single team. And Valentine was at that season where actually, like, it wasn't like Boston were the only team interested in him. Like, I think a lot of teams really wanted the core of that. Obviously, if you win Korean contenders, especially in the early days of Overwatch League, that's like a guaranteed fucking like $1 million contract. Did Boston shout out for them?
I honestly don't know. I think they definitely got paid more than anyone else, but the main selling point that they all had was that they came together, and Laurie's one condition of joining Boston was that Valentine was coming. Like Valentine was his golden boy. He could do no wrong.
It's 4,200.
Yeah,
It's like a Rush
ranked
Sparkle
4,200 the whole
situation.
year. You know, he was this little kid that he probably felt like a little father to. So that was his one condition. And then same thing with Faith. I know Faith, like same thing. He came off the win, and so other people wanted him. I think he was offered by Guangzhou like 20,000 more or something, but he got paid shit all at Boston because Boston didn't pay anything. I didn't get paid anything. All the whites boys on our team did not get paid anything.
All the whites.
I mean,
The allegations, they're coming back.
So I think most of the budget definitely went to them, but like he brought over most of the team. It was I'm 37, Laurie. I think Laurie got paid a bit because people wanted him as well. So they're all desirable after their win, but for some reason Huck did his money ball and they all came here. I don't know if he got paid heaps, but it was definitely more than anyone else on the team. So
Was Valentine accepted from Laurie's like beatings and whatnot on account of the fact that he was the golden boy that could do no wrong, or was he also just like caught in a plank position a couple of times a day?
he was, but at the same time, he was like, there was. I'll say this story about one night we were playing Watch Point Gibraltar against some team. I think I don't know. We must have lost. It was in the double bubble Zarya Monkey, and we'd lost. And so we'd usually have the academy team, which Gabe Bulsey was on at the time. And so we'd play the academy team as our fourth scrim of the night, and we'd kind of like work on one map or something and just keep going.
Scrim.
Yeah. and we'd play Watch Point Gibraltar because we couldn't attack. We could not attack that map for the life of us. And so we started playing it, and the first person to swap was me because he didn't like what I was doing or something. So he swapped me and Gabe Bulsey. So I was playing with the academy boys. It was like with Arrow and stuff at the time, I think. And the academy team still won. So then he was like, all right, Punk's not the issue. So he went and swapped. Stand 1, Monkey. Same thing. The academy team won. Swapped other guy, Myungbong. Same thing. Academy team won. And we were playing only Watch Point Gibraltar, the attack, only the attack. And eventually, after swapping the whole team out, he got to Valentine. We swapped him out, and it was like the keys to the treasure chest have just been unlocked. Like Watch Point Gibraltar, we can play it, we can attack, and it was just like we went back in the VOD, and I remember sitting there with Kelsey, and we played 18 Watch Point Gibraltar. 18. It was 5:30 in the morning. And I remember I have it on my phone still. I took a video of like just me out in the courtyard going to bed, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like we just played till 5:30, and I was sitting there with Kelsey, and we were watching his VOD, and it was like, what's this guy doing wrong? Like, how is he so shit that like the whole team wasn't able to make a difference, and it was because he wasn't marking the Widow as Tracer the whole game. And it was just like, for some reason, Laurie couldn't see that in his precious diamond golden hands. So he had some favoritism for sure.
I would say that's the biggest indictment of his coaching, the fact that the only way he could fix the problem was just if I just sub people out, like it's like,
like a full trial and error. Like
watch the fucking game, bro.
There's a combination here that works.
He was puzzled. He was like, something's wrong here. What is it? But yeah, that was grim. Sub to Patreon for Uncoachable.
That's the
That's it. Done.
All right, perfect.
Does this?
I feel like we. Oh
Go
no.
on.
I was gonna say I feel like we haven't really like touched on the fact that Punk, you're saying you're getting subbed out for Gabe Bulsey, right? And then before, maybe there was like Brucein or something that you were fighting with. But I think you might actually be the most storied player in Overwatch League in the sense that it's like no matter what roster you're on, your coach is always trying to kill you, like for years and years and years. But you're that like parasitic little cockroach that just keeps coming back over and over and over again. Like we've got to get the list up of all the off tank players.
You made the list in that little image. I remember it's like the guy fighting off the demons or something.
Yeah.
Because even on paper, this roster looks, because it's a Korean coach. There's like 5 Korean players at the start, maybe. So it just has Korean takeover written all over it from the get-go.
Yeah. I mean, it was always at Boston too. Like, it happened even before. And when I decided to go back to uni and stop playing, I got let go by the academy by Spillo because they wanted to go with a European direction, and then they picked up Dragon Eddie after that. And so I was like, all right, that might be me done. So I went back to school after that, and then I got picked back up. But yeah, during the 2021 year, when all the WGS fellas came over, I thought, oh shit, Gabe Bulsey's coming, it's over, whatever. But then there was some leak that apparently it was false. Yiska told me that it was false, but Gabe Bulsey was like getting offers from Fusion and Glads for like 200k or something. Anyone know?
No knowledge.
That was the season after the COVID season, right? 2021. I think we would have been in Korea.
Yeah.
Season 4 it would have been, yeah.
Season 4.
Yeah. I don't think we offered him 200k, but
okay. But anyway, like a lot of people thought, and I thought this guy was like super good, so he was gonna take my job. And then he didn't join our team at the time, and then he didn't join any other team. He was just on the Boston Academy. I was like, oh shit, okay, like sick. We'll just keep playing. And then Mineral was like, oh, sign this new contract, and we'll keep you, and we'll choose you. It just makes sure we know your loyalty, because so I had a 1+1 when I first joined in 2020, and so the half of 2020 was the one, and then the option was going to be 2021 with all the Koreans, and then I'd be a free agent. And so I was like, all right, that'll work for me. But then Mineral was like, if you don't sign this new contract, we're basically going to get another tank as well as you. So good luck. So at the time, I just wanted to stay in the league. So I signed it, which was pretty stupid, but what can you do? And then Gabe Bulsey ended up joining anyway, like I think it was like a week into the season or before the season had even started. He came and they told me, he was like, yep, this is going to be his desk move over. So
You had to move desks?
Yeah, I did. I got kicked out. We had we actually
That's
had
a good omen.
a segregated room in the apartment that we were playing in, where it was the bench, which so happened to be all the white people, and then all the starters out in the main room. So it was a bit dicey there, but yeah, ever since that first day, which I said where we versed Max in Open Division, I just thought he'd written me off straight away.
So can I sum it up like I just heard it? So you join the season 2021, you get abused verbally day one. The GM then comes to you and says, if you don't sign this contract, we're just going to replace you. So you have to sign it. This is while you're getting fucking effectively physically tortured, to put it lightly.
Yep.
You then sign the contract, and then he replaces you a week later anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fair enough. That's good.
No. That's how it goes. And then what? Like, he didn't even last. I think he played 3 games in Overwatch League or something. Like, I think Gabe Bulsey played 3 games, and I might have lost or won. I don't remember. But after that, he was like, all right, punk in. And I'm like, the fuck? Like, why are you putting me in when you just got this guy? And I think Gabe Bulsey was a bit of a backchatter, to be honest. I don't think he cared. And he was probably one of the only ones to just like not give a fuck about Laurie, and it ended up doing him wrong, because before he joined, like, he again was like Valentine, was the second coming of Christ to play off tank. He was amazing at everything. When we'd play our academy team, he'd be like, watch Gay Bullsy's POV before you eat or something for the next 6 hours. So
While you're planking.
it was, yeah.
Well, you have permission to eat too. Like it's
It was,
conditions.
You can only eat if you're watching his VOD.
I was fit that year, let me tell you. So yeah, he thought he was sick, but then he ended up only playing like 3 games until I then replaced him for the rest of the year. So I don't know why he did mental gymnastics or went and bothered with doing it when he could have just picked one of us, and he clearly wanted to pick Gables from the start. So
At that point, when you come back in as well, is everything in Korean at that point? Are they like the teams comment in Korean, VODs in Korean?
Yeah.
And you're
Like
just...
I'm pretty sure we stopped towards the end of when he was playing. Like we just stopped showing up because Miro and Huck were like, guys, all right, you don't have to go to the VOD reviews. Like you don't have to plank for nothing you didn't do. So
just give me a plank and we'll get it done with now. Yeah.
Just show me now, and yep, off you go. We'd have to do laps actually as well. That's something else. We do laps around our apartment block with the whole team, and he started a system with me that it was like every mistake I made, I would do another lap, and so I ended up doing like I don't know how many more laps than everyone else in the thing, because he'd have a tally, or I'd have a tally on like a sticky note thing, and I'd have to go over it with him, and he'd run them with us, which was, I guess, you know, in his probably pity or maybe lack of, but he ended up running them with us, and then we'd go eat. But yeah, he was one for making you work. Like it felt like he was stishing out all this boot camp Korean stuff on us poor Overwatch gamers.
Okay, was there a single part of you which thinks it worked in any capacity?
I got better. I mean, I definitely got better at the game. He was pretty smart. I will say he was like smart at how he thought about the game and what people should do and like analysis, but his coaching side of like talking to people at any capacity was just awful. So that was the idea going into the next year. Was it was discussed because at the end of the year we had like a little meeting with Mineral and Huck, the GMs, and they were like, right, what are you thinking? How was the year? Just like pretty sure a standard debrief, and I ended up saying everything, and they were like, oh right, we had no idea, and I was like, oh fuck it, there's no way you had no idea this was going on.
Why is everyone running around
who's those
outside?
running
I know, it's like, man, our
So
team's
you keep
pretty
going
fit.
past the
Look at this.
window.
Huck would come on the runs with us as well sometimes.
He didn't know.
Oh,
It was
the guys love running this year.
so after that, they were like, right, we'll think about getting, like, it was either we're going to put a leash on Laurie and we're going to control him because he's really smart and we like how he thinks about the game, or we'll get some other coach and release him. I think people were saying DPay, so that would have been a big jump, one to the other. But yeah, so that was the plan going into next year. Was people thought that he would be able to be controlled, and no, didn't work. So
Did they keep him on, or did they get someone else? Like
they kept him on, into 2022. But at that point, like, it was tough in the moment because, like, none of us had any other people. Like, we're all living away from home and everything, so it's hard to stand up to this guy who's basically been given all authority to you. Like, I'm supposed to be following and doing everything he says, and then I'm calling my family back home and I'm telling them, like, guys, I'm running laps, I'm doing planks, I can't eat, and they're like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, this guy, like, just don't do it or say no. And it was hard at the time because, you know, it's the only option you have. So but then coming back the next year, like, he kind of lost all power over everyone, I think. Like, no one really gave a fuck about him anymore. I kind of just ignored everything he said. And eventually he, like, started begging and was like, "Punk, please try." And I'm like, "I'm trying. Like, I'm just not gonna listen to you." So it was definitely a turn. And then like once he realized that like he couldn't control everyone, he was on his way out pretty quick. So I think he
When
left halfway through that year or got
I think it was
kicked.
August maybe.
Yeah,
who
because
they replace him with?
I think was it Ascoft
Ascoft
stepped up?
Ascoft just moved up,
Right, just
promotion.
stepped up. Yeah.
It was the anti-Korean, right? Like you guys like went as
De-Koreaned.
effectively what the Vancouver Titans roster was near enough towards the
Yeah,
end of that season.
yeah. We played with your boys on London,
Yeah, yeah,
who were the rejects as well, and
yeah.
then we made our little scrim team and scrimmed other our teams and Boston, and we ended up beating them, which of course was wonderful to do. But yeah, he got kicked pretty quick after he had a big tiff with Striker, of course, that at the beginning of the year, because Striker, don't know why he came back to Boston, but he was a good enough bloke, but he I don't know, everyone knows his issues of being pretty lackluster. So he had a big argument with Laurie, and it was basically one of them's got to leave, and I think Striker left first, but then everyone kind of just threw a revolt. I think Val Ascoff was like, right, it's time to go. So he got rid of Laurie as well. But that's when they brought in Mag as well, and we had 3 tanks that year at the very start.
Yep.
And then we had Mag as well. So it was 4 tanks that whole year for when it went into the 1 tank game.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember.
Who was the last one? Mag, Marvel.
We started with
Itzal.
Marvel and Itzal. Yeah.
Oh, idiot! Fuck! You killed so many Korean tanks, dude. It's actually crazy.
Yeah.
Wait, so you were the only Western player in 22, right? Like it was just you and a bunch of Koreans, or was there someone else?
And Crimzo.
So were you and Crimzo split off in another room, segregated, if you will?
Yeah.
Or
Oh, and Sega came halfway through.
yeah, you had 6 for the mid-season culture pickup.
Yeah, when we went when we all got benched at the same time, we were in the segregated room. We were like, right, you guys aren't going to be playing because Mag's just come, like, he's going to play. And it was the Junker Queen meta or something. So I'm like, all right, Mag's playing. I'm like, as soon as on the news, I was like, this has happened before. I was just like, fuck this, I'm out. So I just went to the segregated room, met the team with the London boys. We got on with it.
Home.
And it was funny because like we were doing nothing. Like these guys, the main team wasn't talking to us. They were it was all Korean. It was basically one team and our team. And then, so I was like, all right, well, let's go do something. Like, let's go to the city. Let's explore. Let's not waste and rot in this nice little segregation. So it was very convenient that my father, who probably a lot of people know, bought tickets to Billy Joel in New York.
That'd be a
Bought
great
tickets. Yeah. Oh mate, Billy in the Garden like doesn't get much better, does it?
Wait, did he have his kid come up on stage? Because that guy's got that fucking dog in him. He's like in his 80s and he's got like a 5-year-old kid coming up on stage.
Olivia Rodrigo came out. It was like it was great. So the whole idea, because he visited like during the off season, so we went to New York with my parents, and then he bought the tickets, but he bought the tickets for the wrong date. So we had 3 tickets to Billy Joel, and I was like, boys, we've got to go. We've got to get on the train. Like, this is way better than watching the Korean scrims. So we went and we did the good thing of not booking a hotel and just taking the overnight train, which was just perfect decision. And we went and saw Billy in the Garden while poor little Mag was getting shot as well. Yeah.
I don't think Magazine was doing planks though, like low key.
Mate, the plank stopped that year. I'm telling you, like it was pretty quick. I don't know. It didn't last long. He still kept up with the verbal stuff, but no, all the physical stuff. I think he got whipped into line. But he hit Faith on like the back of the head one day. It was just like while he was playing. It was every day. It was pretty hectic. Something was different about how he went about it. So
across the entire year of all this, did anyone ever say no to him, or did he just maybe there's
Gabe Bullsy did, and then he got kicked, and then he just got kicked. So it was like, all right, we'll do what this guy says. And then the only other time was when Stand won, because like he was a bit older. He was like more of a normal bloke who could talk to people at the time. And so he went and had a discussion with Laurie in his room for like 3 hours, and then came out of it and was like, right, he says he's going to be a little bit nicer, basically. Like that was the whole gist of it. And it's like what? You spent 3 hours like talking about all this stuff, and then he came out and he was the exact same. Like nothing happened. And like obviously by the end of the year, like everyone just wanted to go home. So we got past stage 2, and then in between stage 2, oh no, but before the last part of the season, and everyone came back for scrims, and no one wanted to be there, and we had to play ranked till 3 a.m. every day. And he would come and check. He would come and check at 3 a.m. if you were in the room. And so one time, I finished at 2:55, and I'm like, I'm not queuing a fucking another game. Like, come off it. And so I went up to bed, and he came down at 3 o'clock to the practice apartment. He's like, where are you? And messaging me. I'm like, in bed. And he's like, what the fuck are you doing? It's not 3 a.m. Like, you need to come back. And so I got up out of bed, and I went back down to this playing room, and I played one more game because it was just like, you needed to be there at 3 a.m. It was bizarre.
You know what's funny? And I got a feeling somewhere in the world right now, Gumba is watching this episode, and Gumba is going, fucking hell, this guy's a bit much.
Yeah.
Even Gumba's like,
You-
fucking hell.
No way. I reckon Gumba's watching this episode and being like, fucking hell, these are new things I can implement into my coaching routine.
His coaching
This
document.
regime.
Are you
Yeah,
telling me I
but
could
I
have just
haven't
hit
been
the Lucio
physical.
player the whole time?
Yeah. Maybe if I took a swing at Animo, we wouldn't have needed to cut him, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I just can't. I feel like there's context here. Can you explain like a weekly, daily? Like, were you doing free blocks every single day for the entire season?
Like,
Yeah,
what would be your
so-
average daily schedule?
Okay. So we'd wake up at I'd wake up at 12 or like 11:30 because yeah. So I'll just start from start. So we wake up at 12. Scrims at 1. So people are still half asleep when we're starting
Right.
our first scrim, which isn't a good look because then you play worse, and then more feedback. So anyway, we do that. Have our 1 hour break. Do another scrim till 6, I think. 1 hour break for dinner, which was usually dinner / VOD. So we'd eat our dinner while watching the VOD, or not eat. Like it was one of the two. And then we'd do our third scrim, which was usually with just another team. Like because people did 3 blockers.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then we'd do VOD review, and the VOD reviews would last like minimum an hour 30 every time. It was usually towards 2 to 3 hours, and there was no discussion. Like there was no people arguing, because if you argued, you'd have to get on all fours. So it was just him like shitting on you and calling you shit, and like he would call I'm 37. He was like, you fat fuck, like all this stuff, and it's just like it's so insane. So we'd do that for 3 hours. It would end up being like, I don't know, 11 at that point, or 11:30, and then whether or not we did good enough, or he thought like a Watch Point Gibraltar situation, we'd then call up the academy team, who I guess were just always on call for us to scrim. So we'd then do our 4th scrim of the day till 1, maybe. Then till
Few hours
3 a.m.
grind.
you'd do a ranked, yeah, and then off to bed. And then
Oh.
you'd have to be there till 3 o'clock, and then
Wake up at 12.
wake up at 12. So it was great. All day in front of the screen. It's pretty easy to get to sleep after that as well. So
Yeah.
What was it, 6 days a week?
you get to really enjoy that off day, though, right? Like, you
Oh,
really
yeah, the off
appreciate
Hell of an off day, fuck.
yeah, you know, we went and did so much stuff around Sharon. Like it was just the utopia of Western society.
it. Geez, like an empty car park? That is.
Yeah. Oof. I bought a skateboard, man. I bought a skateboard. And
Jeez, that's
I skated around the
existential
car park.
dread.
Yes.
And Huck would see me from the window and be like, "Oh, you're getting pretty good." And I'm like, "Thanks, mate." What a time on my hands.
So, what time of day was the punishment scheduled for? Was it in the like after this 3rd block? That's when the push-ups and the laps and everything would go down.
The runs would happen like before we ate, so it was all between after the 2nd block. Was usually it kind of depended. We'd either go to the gym as a team and do his little gym circuit, or we'd go run, or we'd watch VODs and eat or not eat. Like it was kind of whatever the flavor of the day was for him at that point.
I say, you know who Boston should have signed? They should have signed Kaluge, because Kaluge would have got a voluntary cut. All these cardio exercises, he would have lost so
It
much
would have been
weight, and
no
he
issue.
would have affected him. Like that would have been the tank you couldn't have killed. If Kaluge had joined Boston, he would have beaten you. I think he'd
Yeah.
be the only one.
Beating you off the field in the gym and then also on the field as well.
So
Yeah,
he'd have
just
loved
can't
it.
compete.
I mean, I am kind of curious, like, were you guys subjected, because you were saying that like you were getting it pretty rough, you know, lots of bonus laps and stuff like that. But if Laurie was always trying to bench you, you know, like you were spending a lot of time in the segregated room, how were you accruing all of these fucking punishments? You know, like you're simultaneously benched and getting the most laps out of anyone. Was it like, would he put you in desperation and then immediately punish you with laps? What was going on?
There was a system that it took a year of convincing. Fusion. It was actually this is something else, but Fusion's. It took him like a month to convince Laurie that we needed to go to the gym, like on our own for our own sanity, just like, and not play ranked, like because that was not part of his nightly routine for us that he had in mind. So eventually Fusion's worked his way up the chain, you know, went to Ascoft to eat, to Mineral, and then eventually Huck was like, oh yeah, like what? Okay, we'll let him go to the gym for 40 minutes. So that was our saving grace of the night. But yeah, he'd put us in because Colourhex complained and Fusion complained and I complained that we just weren't playing. So we'd get, I think it was one map every week at least, which is very generous. And in that map, he would either take you out straight away or halfway through the map or something, which is what happened at Crimzo as well that year when we was it was the Brig Lucio meta. He played Brig for half a map and then we paused and then he just took him out.
I think I remember having to do that actually. Yeah.
That's fucking insane. You get one map per week and only half of it. Sorry mate, that wasn't enough.
Yeah, so but it was, I also played because I played a lot because Gabe Woolsey only played for 3 weeks, and so for that 3 weeks I felt, you know, a bit of freedom, a bit of relief, like I wasn't copying it as much. And then he put me back in, and then of course because I'm the only Western guy on the team, like there's going to be a lot of blame towards me, even from the other guys on the team. So like that's when I kind of accrued the extras and stuff. But generally, like Colourhex and Fusions had to do everything as well, like all the punishments. So sometimes we'd get on all fours, like just as a team, doing planks in the middle of VODs, or we'd just go out and do a run. So no one was safe from it.
Even when you were
except for
benched,
Valentine.
you still got punished.
Yeah.
Do you reckon Kelsey got fucked around even more than you? Because I remember like Colourhex was getting seriously like violated by the playtime policy between him and Valentine. It was like,
yes.
Yeah, I mean maybe you've got a bit of a story behind that.
He had no chance, right? He's competing against Valentine. Like, what's he gonna do? He's not gonna play over him. But I think he ended up playing on Ilios because he could play Soldier better or something. And so he played one map in the whole year or something like that, which was pretty rough.
But when you say he played Ilios, it was like, it wasn't that he was given Ilios to practice and led up to it. It was like, it was match day, warm-up scrim already over.
Yes.
You are now
in. Yeah, because I don't know if the strat changed or if Valentine was just like feeding his brains out on Soldier. I think it was against Paris. It was the game where he was on Soldier, I was on Diva, and my only job was to mark the Ferret. And I remember I just shifted at Naga every single time it was off cooldown, and we ended up winning that game, which was pretty good. But yeah, it was we were in the warm up, and we had again segregated rooms in our like playing area, in the Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, and he
It's good that you used Gillette and segregation within like 5 seconds of one another. Like, no better time to drop the sponsor name.
I think my phone's actually ringing now, asking if they can sponsor
The
podcast.
segregation room in the Gillette Stadium. Yeah, fucking.
That would be good.
Sign
Please,
us up
no,
for the sponsorship.
Punk, I don't like how you've been playing. Please go stay in the Gillette segregation room.
Keep away. And then he ended up just like Laurie was like, all right, Kelsey in. And so Kelsey's like, what the fuck? Like, Kelsey was always warmed up though. Like, he was always ready, and it was kind of sad. Like, he always tried. We'd always do it. So it was good fun. We'd keep a little bit of our sanity together. And then he ended up playing just that map in the warm up because of some reason, and he just chucked him in. And I think it happened twice actually. So it might have been more than one map of the year, but he did the same thing, and then in the match he like shit the bed a bit. But it's like, this guy hasn't played all year, and you're chucking him in the warm up. Like, what do you think's gonna happen? And then it just worked out on the time on Ilios.
I feel like it has to be one of the fucking craziest decisions ever. Now that I'm looking at it, if you're like, was Huck GM going into the next season, or was that the season he left?
Huck was GM into every Boston season. Yes, that I would.
Oh, really?
I think ever.
You-
Yeah, like at the very start, he made all like the
Right.
roster decisions.
Because it's like, you've got this coach who you signed. He signs all of the best Korean talent humanly possible. You guys went 7-9, but that was also the season where like London and Vancouver just didn't win a game like the whole season. So you guys
Yeah.
still finished bottom
We
4.
lost to them. We lost to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, you still
We
finished
gave them the first win.
bottom 4 in NA, and he's literally. You know how someone last week in the episode said that Gumba doing VOD reviews till 1 a.m. or whatever was illegal? I feel like there's probably a case for what Laurie was doing was illegal. Like, I'm fairly confident there has,
100%.
there has to be some sort of US employment law which really prohibits mandatory physical exercise and no more than 9 hours sleep. And fucking management at Boston actually kept him. Like, you know, whatever you want to say, it's not just a fucking crazy guy. There's actually like genuine ethical issues with this decision, right? Like, at some point, am I too much of a fucking liberal right now? But this is actually fucking abuse, right? Like,
Yeah, it
this
was
isn't just
100%.
this is
And
actually
everyone
genuine
said that.
abuse.
Everyone said that, like, when I talked to people from home or other teams or something, like, they were like, what the fuck? Like, you can't deal with that. But it was proper abuse because, like, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't say anything. I was fucking terrified for my life. Like, and, like, I didn't know any better at the time. And so it's like, well, people wonder why I didn't say anything. It's like, well, shit, I just
Well,
didn't feel like I could.
the
Good
way
title, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things about Overwatch, right? Like the difference between tier 1 and tier 2 in terms of like your actual like salary and living conditions is so significant that if you're one of these like fringe players at the bottom, where if I lose my league status, I go to contenders for sure, it's such a fucking step down in terms of the way you live your life. And one thing that Boston was always notorious for is that you said Hook in his fucking Moneyball, right? But this guy believed in the concept of a fucking let's just prison contract this motherfucker. I remember when when you remember Astro was originally signed to Boston, like it must have been like fucking season 3.
Greatest mistake of his life.
And he got caught for fucking boosting. Hook, the only way he was going to sign Astro was signing him on a 3-year deal. Daniel 100% doesn't mind me telling you this. 3-year deal, 3 plus 0, so no plus 1, minimum fucking contract. And he says, okay, if you don't take this 3-year deal at minimum contract with like no way to get out or no bonuses, then I don't sign you to the league. And fucking Astro sat there like, fuck, do I get another chance? Like, how long does the league go for?
Yeah.
Maybe he definitely shouldn't have signed it, and he's so lucky that he boosted in fucking his like. Because his career was like, that's the greatest stroke of luck ever, is Hook deciding to rip up his contract.
Yeah.
But Hook would have just fucking prison contracted him, and he would have just kept him there forever. And Boston in general, like, yeah, I don't know, like.
Well, the
everything
academy
that
team
was
was
it.
bad for it as well, right? In theory,
Yeah.
that's why.
Yeah,
because you were
it
on the
was
academy
really
team
bad.
as well, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I remember even after me, I think that like it got a bit more public when False got signed to the team, because I don't know, I saw a lot of shit on Twitter about False being contract jailed in Boston, but it was true. Like, and same thing with Mineral, you know, telling me, whispering in my ear, saying, you know, you need to sign this new contract. Like, we're gonna keep you. We trust you. Blah blah blah. We're gonna give you $5,000 more. I'm like, yeah, sweet, all right. And then he just does it anyway. Like, and who knows what could have happened if I was like free agent? I don't think anything much different would have happened, to be honest, because still, like, I'd only been on Boston and we were still a shit team. So it's hard to say. But yeah, in the academy, it was like there was no buyouts. They never set any buyout. They never talked about like a reasonable trade deal with any team, and that was why the team was so shit, I think, as well, because like every problem that occurred couldn't be fixed with like signing a new player unless it was Gabe Bulsey or Mag. Every other like real issue that the team had, it was like, all right, how do we fix this? But we couldn't, because every trade, or like there was no power in the money ball. There was no selling. There was no budget. It was just he locked people up and didn't sell them, didn't talk about it. So it was like there was never a chance to get out, even in the academy.
Huck was like, I would say, famous for asking unreasonably large amounts of money for really like low value players,
Yeah.
Like if they had someone on Uprising Academy or even on their main roster that was worth like basically nothing, like a shitty tier 2 contenders player that is just locked up forever on that contract. And the only way they're ever going to get into Overwatch League is by moving up and being one of those fringe players that has like a permanent lack of job security and is very likely to lose their job later, like in the following year.
Yeah.
And I feel like we might have asked about someone in an off season once. Maybe it was Atlanta Reign, and we asked about someone. It could have been you. But
was Astro contracted to Boston? Because I'm sure we had something similar where we like, I don't know. I'm sure on Fusion
he was signed on the team.
Yeah, but I can't remember if they let him go, because I remember it was either on Fusion, like there was someone we had to deal with in one of my teams with Huck, and it was like, this guy is the most fucking unreasonable person. Like, no idea about genuine like market reality, like the asking prices. Like,
I mean, he's asked so much money.
Yeah, like a year's salary for a buyout, which is just actually fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
He
was asking for more than a year's salary. Like,
yeah, it's fucking crazy.
Well, they did the opposite to us as well, because at the start of 2021 to season 4, they tried to get Fisher when Fisher was head coach of Hurricane, and they were trying to get him to go to Boston. And we said Reprise really wanted him on the London team as well. So we open like chat with, so I think it's like Nuki, Jack, owner of Cloud9, and Huck in this Discord conversation. Nuki starts the group message. Huck writes the first message and just says, "In no way whatsoever are we ever going to pay a buyout for a coach." And that's just the opening message to the conversation. It's like, what a great way. This is really a great way to start a conversation. At which point I think that actually worked against Huck, because then Jack was like, well, fuck this guy. If he's going to be like this, maybe we don't want to do business with him.
Yeah. I really didn't like Huck at the very start of my career, and like, I feel like it's rightly so. Even on the academy, and it was when I moved over and I was playing in the academy, and the team, they did the Note RCK trade, and RCK was not.
Rick.
Yeah, Rick playing Sombra was. That was Gumba's, he had to work with what he had, but I'm sure he's got a lot to say about that one. But yeah, and then like, so I'm on the academy team, and this guy's, I'm watching him play every week. I'm like, this guy's shit, blah blah blah, and then I'm just saying that to myself, and then Huck is messaging me like, oh, when are you 18 again, blah blah blah, because they wanted to get rid of RCK, and he was sending me all these messages of like, oh yeah, you're like, when you get to 18, we'll put you in the league, blah blah blah, and then same thing, went with Dragon Eddie. So it's just, you never were safe in Boston. And I think every time someone asked me, like Crimzo would ask me like, oh, what do you think of Boston? I laid it out to him. He still joined, but I didn't lie to him.
I think that was the big problem with like Huck's Boston overall, is that they were just incredibly famous for lying to everyone, Like they would always have Huck Mineral in your ear telling you, we're going to move you up, we're going to promote you. You sign this contract, you're going to come to the main team. We've got eyes on you, and we want you for the main team. You need to sign this hellish 17-year contract on Uprising Academy first. So they were just liars, Like most teams are pretty, well, maybe they weren't completely honest, but I feel like Boston was exceptionally dishonest with all their players, Like they really wanted to put people in prison. And
it was always off tanks, like every time. Like it was false, and then it was Vulcan. Like they loved Vulcan. I remember because he like micromanaged Luca Mina, and I'm sitting there in the scrim, and Huck's like talking to him, and they was talking to me like, "Oh, what do you think of it?" I'm like, "Mate, he does my fucking job. Why am I going to tell you that he's really good? Like, what do you want from me?" So, they were just looking for the next best thing always. Like, it was just going to come across his desk and be like, "Yes, like this is what I've got."
Yeah, I feel like one thing, it's interesting because I feel like Albert, in my head, the way he did GMing was quite moneybally, right? Like I think that the way Florida moved up the ladder and eventually won was quite ruthless, right? Like if he felt like he could cut someone and like upgrade them, he would go for it. And one thing I felt that, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but a lot of GMs in the league didn't have that like genuine cutthroat game playing ability where they were just really nice people and they would just sign you and they would look after you, but they didn't necessarily look to make like killer moves in the market, if you know what I mean. I always feel like one thing, like I always felt slightly uncomfortable with some of the stuff like Florida. I actually think compared to what we're talking about now, I don't think Florida like inherently like mistreated people, but I felt like sometimes if I was on Florida, if there was an option for someone to get a 20% upgrade over me, I could just lose my job. You know, like I didn't necessarily have loyalty with Florida. And obviously what they did, Albert did it in genuinely a smart way, right? Like they won the league, they upgraded on a budget. It felt like Boston played that same game, but Boston used all of the fucking dark arts to do it, right? Like manipulation, lying, physical torture, all of these like
It's not in the Geneva Convention.
Yeah.
And I really feel like there has probably been some really shitty orgs in the way they treat play. I think there's like a lot of like Vancouver back in the days, the way they treated that original Korean team. There's some real horror stories there. But I feel like Boston maybe just genuinely is the worst, right? Like, I think that a lot of these stories we're saying here today will probably shock people because what you're saying, I actually feel really bad for you now. I feel like we're doing like a whistleblowing experiment right now. Because I knew about the laps, but I always thought it was fucking funny. Like these fuckers are running laps. But when I actually think about it, I'm like, fuck, that would be so taxing on your mental. And what's the alternative? Give up on your dream in
Get
esports.
fired.
In esports,
Yeah.
right? When we're done with esports, maybe if you're like Hunter and you've got a master's degree in business and you're a genius like him,
Why would you just
Degree?
completely what
You have-
masters in business? Fuck
you
you.
have a degree
You
in
have a
business, whatever
master's?
you've got.
No, I don't, cunt. I have a
What?
bachelor's in science. What?
You should have just said, the masters in business. Like,
No, I don't want to be a business major. Get the fuck out of
Why did
here.
you get a master's in it then?
Yeah, that's
Well, I'm not educated
You
enough
step down
to
to
go for
bachelor,
masters.
Jesus.
I mean, I'm not going to lie to the people.
oh, man, pros
Unless
the
you're-
line, mate. Pros
yeah.
the line.
unless you're educated like my mate Hunter. Actually, once I drop out of Overwatch, I dropped out of uni for this. I don't know what's like for you guys, but I'm totally fucked in terms of getting a genuine job after this, right? I've put all my eggs into this shit. So if I am then left in a situation where, imagine on like my second year of Fusion, they say to me, "Oh, you've dropped out of uni, you've invested all your eggs into this. This is your dream job. If you want to maintain it, you're getting 7 hours sleep and you're losing every scrim. You're playing 3 to 4 blocks and doing all this. You actually have to do it, right? I don't know. It's not Stockholm syndrome, but I don't know. It's some fucking word for it. But you actually, maybe that's why.
Fallacy, maybe.
It's for Zimbardo's study from psychology. For one, the prison experiment essentially, where they dress up, they
The
get two
Stanley
groups of people.
prison
They
experience,
assign half of them as
Yeah.
guards and half of them as the prisoners. And then over the course of the experiment, the guards get more and more extreme and like power mad essentially. And the prisoners can leave at any point because it's just a study. It's not a real prison. They can just opt out, but none of them opt out and they just take the torture because they're just
Yeah. Well, except this is
lost
more
in the
similar to an
experiment.
actual prison because the ramifications for leaving are way
are
worse.
actually significant. Yeah.
Maybe
You're
Faith
locked in the
actually-
Gillette Stadium.
you're in the Gillette segregation chamber, you know.
Well,
Maybe
'cause I feel
Faith
like-
actually had Stockholm syndrome. Maybe when Faith is getting abused, and maybe Faith is actually a genuine case of Stockholm syndrome from Laurie.
Dude,
and all those
Faith
years.
is like the nicest bloke I've ever met as well, and
Abs of Steel
like
too.
Abs of Steel is just a beautiful bloke. Like the crimson chin,
You should
My
see his
word.
fucking jawline, dude.
The
Like, you
crimson
can cut
chin.
glass.
but he would take it like the most, and he would then go to Laurie and like ask for feedback. And I think Laurie liked that. He was like, like I'm giving all this shit to him, and he's still coming back to me asking for feedback. So it was very strange, but like he was the one who copped it a lot. Besides, I think out of the Koreans, he probably copped it the most. But yeah, like you were saying, like you couldn't leave. Like especially, I didn't want to leave now, and then it's just like, right, that's it. I've been playing for 4 years before this. This is accrued to a shit time in the middle of nowhere in America, and we didn't win. No one's gonna remember. Blah blah blah. Like it's just not how I want to end it, or not how I wanted it to go. So you just keep going because I was like, I've got to do better. We'll get better. Blah blah blah. But it's like at the time, there's no mentality of like, okay, this is fucked. Like I'm gonna leave.
Go on.
I was gonna say there's a huge sort of power shift dynamic between players when if you're like a Pelican or something, and like every team is competing for you, you can just ask for whatever. But but most players in the league are on these like, they don't know how many shots they're going to get, right? Like how many people go into the league, go back to contenders, and actually come back again. I mean, if your name's not striker, going out of the league and coming back in isn't that common. And I think it puts so much pressure on these players.
I couldn't. It's not like I could play ranked and stay on the ladder and do my scrims and whatever. Like I'd go back home, the time zone's fucked, the ping's fucked. Like it's such a low chance to even get out in the first place. It's like once I was in, I needed to just stay there. So.
Yeah, there's probably this in the back of your head, I imagine, if I just get through this year, then maybe I'll get traded, or maybe Laurie gets fired, which is why, like, obviously Laurie, we were discussing this before the podcast, is Genghis Khan worse than Hitler? Because I feel that's Laurie has to be he has to be the single worst, right? There's no way we ever get a podcast guest and Laurie gets beaten, right? Like with everything we know inside this league.
Yeah, I think Laurie's the harshest, right?
Yeah. So presumably,
and there's no result. Yeah.
That's it, and that's it. But you have to actually blame like management genuinely for rehiring.
Because it went on for so long, right? It's like a long period of time for this to happen.
Because
it was the whole year. It was that whole first year, like the physical stuff and all the abuse was like actually like there was no point where it stopped that whole year. And then even at the end of the talk, they were like, "Oh yeah, we didn't know," blah blah blah. I have a good relationship with Huck and Mineral now, but like at the time, like that was fucking stupid.
For sure.
I still blame them, but I don't hate them, but like 100%, there's no way you can have a team and you're the manager of the team and not know what's going on.
Yeah. Because I think one thing that people maybe underestimate a little bit, like especially fans, and they say, there's across the years in the Overwatch League, there's been one or two players who have been removed. I don't want to remove from the league, right? They've got it to some dodgy extracurricular activity, and they've been
Punk's
removed.
Played
from the
with
league.
most of them.
Yeah, Punk. Yeah, replaced one of them. Played with a few more. And obviously, I'd like to say on behalf of all of us on this podcast, no comment. But I think that there was often times where orgs would say, "Oh, why didn't you remove this person?" I remember when we had the REM situation, and it was like, "Oh, why didn't you just remove him immediately?" But I think that actually orgs are pretty determined to win in a lot of situations where if they think they can get away with stuff that actually they would prefer, like I imagine there is stuff where a regular business would have fired an individual within Overwatch League teams or in esports teams in general, but because they're winning or because the greater cause is better or whatever, they let it go. But I feel like what's so interesting about Boston is I almost could understand that. You know, what would have happened is this, I guarantee this, if you guys had won the league that season, you would have all had this unbelievable reminiscence of running those laps, having the time of your life. You'd look back on it so differently. Oh, it's so good. But the fact that you guys went 7-9 in the weakest season in Overwatch League history, and we still just kept that, is fucking mind-blowing to me. Because it wasn't like you went 7-9 with this roster of young up-and-comers. You signed all of the, in theory, best Korean talent available, still finished really fucking low. I'm guessing didn't make play-ins or playoffs or didn't go anywhere near. And then they just kept it going with all of these genuine human rights abuse happening at the same time. I don't know, it's fucking crazy when you actually think about it.
I feel like sometimes you're understating how hands-off management are, you know. With Boston, you know, they were really hands-on with their management in recruiting, right? You know, like they would always have Huck and Mineral, whatnot, fucking talking to players and trying to like get the next big thing, play the Moneyball game. But beyond that, like, were they ever hands-on? Did you ever see Huck and Mineral in your day-to-day?
No.
Yeah, because like this is the same case for so many teams. Like the management doesn't even exist. Like you were giving Albert lots of credit there, right, for what he did with Florida and how they built up the roster. That was like 100% Gumba, surely. No, don't you think? Like, because Albert, I remember talking to Gumba about Albert, and Gumba was like, "Yeah, I really like Albert as a general manager because he lets me do whatever I want." Like,
there's an argument
Gumba has
for
the
like,
idea.
not most GMs wouldn't support Gumba in some of those calls, right? Like Albert really backed him in a lot of like maybe more high risk calls than a lot of GMs would have done.
But
yeah, I think what you're saying is correct
like,
when you think about it, Max. Like the way I was describing it had Albert as the mastermind behind his trades, whereas the reality is probably it was friend of the show Gumba that was behind it all.
Yeah.
Almost
well, just think about all the managers that you've interacted with throughout like your career in Overwatch League, you know, and it's like I'm sure there's like a wide range of involvement. You know, some people are like really hands-on with players, some people are really hands-on in the off season, some people are none of the above, right? Like they literally just sit in the background. You know, like this role of manager and general manager in Overwatch League, it's super undefined in terms of what these people actually do. But
real talk, there's not a single general manager, and I think it's definitely not the case at Boston, that wouldn't have known the stuff that was going on. There's no way you keep that under wraps across a whole season. Like management knew that they were working
other teams knew.
too hard.
We didn't learn this after the season, right? We learned this during the season.
Punk, you even said it. You had a chat with Hook at the end of the season, right? How did it, or Mineral, whoever it was, how did it go? Yeah, we literally got tortured. Sound, we'll do that again. That actually happened, right?
Like, it was, like, we talked to them, and of course, at the end of the year, like, they were like, "Oh, do you want to stay? How do you think of Laurie?" And I said it all because at this point, it was the end of the year. I was like, "Fuck this! Like, just tell the truth, whatever." And then they just didn't. They ignored it. They were like, "No, like we didn't know all that stuff was happening." And it was like, how can you not know? And I don't like we didn't see them a lot.
Even if they didn't know, they still fucking signed them after you told them, right?
Yeah, and I think the reason why they didn't know was because they did the thing where, well, Albert did to Gumba, where Huck was like bought into Laurie. Like this guy was bought into the WGS whole system and thing, and thought like this guy has gotten results like on his Liquipedia, and so he will get it. And he kind of just like probably turned a blind eye to how he would do that, but like just didn't hit, so nothing happened.
It's actually mind blowing. Genuinely fucking mind blowing to really think about it.
It puzzles me now that like who, like now I think, were the WGS guys actually good, like, or was it just a lucky
like
beating
right
Runaway
time?
Yeah.
Was Runaway even good at that time? Like, was that a really crazy roster for them to beat? Like, did they beat
the really good Runaway, right?
Like, it was like post HeeSang, shit like that, no?
Right, the Yaki HeeSang team.
Oh yeah, and Yaki, we all know. Fuck, wait, how long into the episode are we? We're probably an hour into the episode, and that's the first Yaki mention. That's fucking slow as.
Could you make some noise, some excruciating noise for the audience?
Is anyone mowing their lawn anytime soon?
Monkey's got a little audio clip of Yaki actually somewhere pinned in our DMs, I think.
Oh my god.
Maybe you can figure a way to tee that up by the end.
I'll have a dig.
No, the only pins in our DM are the mock scratch, actually, so I take that back. Yeah, just I've lost the train of thought. But that roster sucked, right? Like it wasn't anywhere near beating old Runaway.
It was
Victoria.
There was a lot of money,
right?
Yeah, Victoria was good, but he was the most immature and like just plays games kind of guy that I've ever met. Like he was funny and he was nice. He didn't speak a lick of English like until the very end when I would like sort of communicate and we were mates. But like up until then, he didn't give a fuck. He just played Widow. He was really fucking good actually, and he was good at Genji too. When Laurie was on the way out, and we had Ascoft and we had Valentine, and no, actually Valentine went home that year. He got kind of kicked, but kind of just said, "I'm going home," because him and MCD, like they became little buddies and they fed off each other, and didn't like that Ascoff was the coach anymore. Didn't like that Laurie got kicked, of course, and so like they did a little rebellion and like wouldn't try, just would scream during scrims, but like not in a funny way, just like be useless. And so I think Ascoff was like, right, are you gonna try? Because this is the Genji meta. It's the Genji Zarya soldier or Soldierin or something, and like if there was ever a time for Valentine to do what he was gonna do, it was on Genji getting a bubble, and so like we put faith in this guy, and he just threw the games, wouldn't play, and so Ascoft was like, right, are you gonna play or not? It's like, if not, we're gonna send you home, and he was like, all right, I'm going home. So he went back to Korea while we were finishing the rest of the season, and I'm pretty sure like no one knew. I think he posted on his Instagram story, but like not big or anything, and so we had to use Victoria's Genji in that meta, which was surprisingly really good. But again, he was just some guy who didn't want to be a professional or like try to win. He just played games and was good at it. So
because I guess where we are right now in the timeline is all great dictatorships. You can't really vote them out. That's not really what happens. It requires some sort of upheaval from the common man, right? So eventually,
the French Revolution, baby.
They do love a revolution in France.
So we get the French Revolution. We anti-Korean the roster, right? All of a sudden, our roster becomes more white than not, right? It was Seeker, Crimzo, Punk, Faith, Victoria, like you said. That was the roster.
Yeah, it was 3-2.
So can you talk about the moment where you stormed the beaches, metaphorically, after the London trials and stuff?
It wasn't Normandy, man.
It's more of a get Laurie to the guillotine situation, I think.
Yeah, it was after the scrim team, of course, because we then played the real team with our scrim team, and
sorry, just to catch everyone up, what we did on, I think it was actually Ascoft that came to me and he said, listen, I've got a few white boys in the Gillette segregation chamber and they really want to play some Overwatch. And I heard you also have a few white boys who are in the London segregation chamber and they're not playing. And I said, listen, mate, we're Cloud9. I'll move them to another house and you guys just scrim. Because I thought, well, of course, right, you might as well like have people scrim.
Yeah,
and that was the Junker Queen meta. So it was the most brutal meta, I think, because you just play 5 fucking heroes the whole time. So it's impossible to realistically give players scrim time in that manner. So it was, the roster was what it was. Who played Lucio? Oh, it was Khan Lucio half the time, right?
Khan played
Khan
Lucio.
And Shax would have been from us.
And Shax was playing Genji.
And then you guys got a few Overwatch League scrims, right?
Yeah.
And they went okay.
Yeah, they were decent. Like it was not like we didn't shit on anyone, but we also didn't get shit on. It was kind of like a normal productive scrim, and then we ended up versing, like we booked in with our main team when they didn't have scrims, and we beat them. And I think after that, like Ascoft went to management and was like, I am beating your main team, which I think they bought Mag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the asset arrived.
The asset showed up at the front door, just ready to go. And I think before that, though, there were talks of getting the whole of Washington, like Supreme and
you're right,
Decay and like other people over.
Because that was when Washington just pulled the plug on their roster, right? Like it was all those rumors that Washington were just going to say fuck it and let everyone go. And eventually, I think a public opinion made them keep them. But their initial plan, I'm sure it was just fuck it. If you can't get sold, you just get kicked, and we're just going to sign a contenders roster for 50K.
Yeah, and they were going to come to Boston because for some reason, like everyone on the team and Laurie was like really good mates with Supreme and obviously Mag, and he loved Mag, and so that was the idea. And like, you know, at that point, everyone's going home, like, because the whole of Washington Justice is just going to assimilate and remove us, like, you know. So the assets were going to show up, and we were just going to have to go home. But I don't know, it fell through or something, because that year in 2022, was it? Yeah, 2022. Boston like merged with Oxygen Esports, which was a new owner, and it was run by a couple of blokes who were sons of like the football team owners, who just, you know, did what they wanted and had a gaming team. And so it was quite funny, because at the very start of that season, when we had Striker, we had who else were the big names on that team? We had Marvel, and like Huck had sold this team to these guys because Oxygen, they have a lot of money and they believed in getting like a top 4 roster. And I remember our first game, it was against Vancouver, and we went map 5 against Vancouver, and our new owner just like walked out of the room, and he looked so disappointed, and it was just like, you know, his expectations plummeted from that. But going back to the Washington thing, yeah, like they were just going to come and replace us, but it fell through, and then it was just Mag who showed up at the door. So
Hello.
game to play.
Magazine.
And then he got his 3 games, again, similar to the Gabe Olsey thing, where they won or they didn't. I think there was a bad loss against Shock, and it was our watch party game or something, and we just lost. And then on the big team in the Gillette Stadium, not the segregation, in the Gillette Stadium room, we were doing a VOD review of the game we had just lost. And everyone wanted to go home. We just fucking shit the bed, and like it was only the Koreans who were playing, and we had to stay there for another hour because he was just going on, and like MCD was on Brig, and it was just not good. And so after that, Ascoff went to management and said, we beat the team, like please let me take over. This guy is a maniac. Like basically just put it all out for him. So after that, I think Tuck finally thought that it was time.
Did you guys know that was coming? Or did he just do it without even telling you? You know, like, did he get a little bit of emotional support from the boys? Like, fellas, I'm going to start a revolution right now. Like, gather around. Or
broke into song and it's like,
it's not Les Mis, man. Like,
that's it. Exactly where my mind went. It's like,
unbelievable.
No. We didn't know. We actually didn't know about the revolution. It was a silent takedown,
okay,
which was good. But yeah, it was weird though, because Seeker wasn't even like a Ascoff pickup. That was a Laurie pickup, and again, he just rode the bench for the whole year until Ascoff decided to play him. So, yeah, after that, it was just like, all right, you're playing, and then obviously the Koreans were like, right, you're playing, and MCD was like, he was a bit impartial to it because he copped a lot of shit from Laurie as well. But him and Valentine just kind of fueled each other, and then at that point, the rest of the Koreans, they started loving life. Like Victoria started playing ranked when he would never play if he didn't have to, and he just started playing ranked till 3 a.m. like voluntarily after Laurie left. So it was just a full release of the whole team, it seemed.
Yeah.
And I think the Koreans were glad that they weren't playing.
Because I guess that's what we should talk about next. Because in football, what always happens is one coach leaves, and then the next coach comes in. You just get this honeymoon period, right? Where whatever the last guy was fucking doing, you do something differently, and all of a sudden people are happy.
Yeah.
Well, I've spoke to Ascoft quite a lot, and my impression from his coaching style is it could not be further from Laurie's. I think he really wants you guys to chill. He wants you guys to have a life. I think he really wants you guys to work together a lot as a team. I think you obviously will be able to answer this, but I always had the idea that Ascoft wanted the players to come together for solutions more than the coach. And effectively, he wanted to run the team exactly opposite. How many scrum blocks a day were you doing with Ascoft? And overall, was it just completely different?
It was so different. And it was funny because he said this like every day. He said like, I want you guys to have autonomy. Like, and because he did his he did his master's in psychology.
Yeah.
And so he was
Science.
very, very, he was very bought into like
business degree.
Yeah, you know. Business guys shitting on like a medical field, like
unbelievable. Get the fuck out of here.
But he believed, and like because he was with Boston like even before I got there. He was with them since 2020 as well, and so he saw all this like shithousery and was like this just doesn't work. And he had his studies, and he just knew that he didn't want to do coaching any similar way that Laurie did, of course. So he always wanted us to make the decisions, us to like, and even before he decided that, back when he was an assistant coach, it was such a different time. Like when Mineral stopped coaching in 2020, he kind of took over again, and it was just such a like discussion based way of like running the team rather than like, oh, you did this wrong, we should do this, blah blah blah. It was like, what do you guys think? And then we'd all talk and kind of figure it out. And that's like I think everyone enjoyed that afterwards, and we kind of got decent at like the Junker Queen, or like serviceable, where we won our games, and that was good enough for us. So everyone was obviously on top of the world after that. But yeah, he's so different. Like he probably could do with more like in-game stuff, but Overwatch doesn't really come down to that. Like 70% of the time, it's which team is fucking hating each other. So it's like, you know, if you don't hate each other and you're happy to play, then you will just win more games.
Well, this was the thing we talked about in previous episodes, I think, where it's really important that you foster hatred on your team, but you foster it for the enemy. Because if your team really hates the enemy, then you have a lot of competitive drive to like really try and to win.
Yeah.
But the problem with Loz was that he was just exclusively fostering hate within the team by putting you in the Gillette segregation stadium and whatnot. So, you know, Loz had it backwards.
Yeah, dude, people would shit talk, and like he would be one of the guys, and he would talk to the other coach and say like, "Oh, can you tell your players to stop talking?" Blah blah blah. And it's like,
yeah, good
just
luck.
mute them, bro. Like,
Good luck.
and yeah, and it's like you're trying to tell like Toronto Defiant to stop shit talking, and I'm sure they're just laughing on the other end, just taking the piss. And so he's had such a different vision of how the way the world works, and like, you know, you should be respectful and all this shit. And it's like these guys don't give a fuck. Like, so it was so different, and yeah, I think that's what he did for Vancouver as well. Like going into this most recent year was, you know, just make things happy, because he's a normal dude. Like he went to uni, he cooks, he's like a pretty bog standard normal guy, whereas a lot of people in Overwatch are pretty
subnormal.
yeah, I was gonna say, I was looking for a word, but
super normal.
yeah. So it just worked out well, because then he picked a lot of other people who were similar or would work in that, and yeah, so it just made it easy to get along with each other and be
Do
happy.
you think you got adequate coaching from a solo bolo coach that was simultaneously doing a master's while having the full-time job, or was he more of a culture setter and nothing else?
Culture setter for sure.
Okay, okay. Soccer blue.
I mean, we came fifth, so
Yeah, no, I mean it's better than gladiators, right?
yeah.
True.
Yeah, no, it was just culture which set us up, and then I think Crimzo, he came on, he did a podcast with Yiska or something where he was like,
Fucking Crimzo, dude.
he said that he really regrets not like knuckling down for the playoffs and stuff, but it was so tough to like actually sit down and coach, especially towards the end of the year. And then we had Hisu, who was also again a guy who just loved playing games, and you couldn't really talk to because he didn't speak English. And so it's like, if we were to, you know, like Ascoft has taken a break from real coaching for clearly like 3 years. Like he's not tapped into the to the strategy. He's more the culture setter. And so I think to bring it back and ask him to figure out the game, it was a bit tricky.
Can I ask, do you remember what matches it was where Crimzo died on Oasis Uni with the window at the end, and the one where he walked off the map on HeeSang? Because we need to show some clips on this podcast, and I'm just going to get them up.
That was that was one. It might have been Atlanta. I can't remember.
You were on. Do you think you were on map 5 versus Atlanta? I feel like that can't be right.
No.
It was against.
Is it Mayhem?
Look, I'll just do some quiet searching. Yeah,
I'll do some quiet searching. At least one of them on map 5 was in the play-ins, right?
There was a few.
Play-ins map 5 was Dorado.
Oh yeah, we lost every fucking map 5.
Not against us on map 5? Oh, but that was we played Circuit, right?
Circuit.
The Mora stuff was
Dorado
early.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we also had a mistake where we thought Florida didn't. We thought Florida capped the push checkpoint, and so we just thought like we were about to lose. So we all swapped to fast heroes, and like
Crimzo fading onto the cart.
Yeah. I'll take the blame for that. I, to be honest, didn't think. I thought they'd capped it, so I thought we were just about to lose. But well, that was like the second game or something. But it was pretty. Yeah, it was first half of the season where that happened. But yeah. That was funny. Listening in the comms in Mat 5, and Crimzo goes, "Oh, what the hell? Like, you can stand on that in Overwatch 1." And he's just killed himself. It's like,
because Yeah, I guess we can now we feel like we've moved past Laurie. When you guys went to Vancouver, I was thinking this. I think we, obviously in London, we kind of had like a reputation as a no drama kind of relatively friendly team. When I was thinking, I thought the only other team that I really feel like I didn't hear any drama from the entire season, apart from the one incident, which I will not comment on. I felt Vancouver, you guys felt pretty well matched in terms of there wasn't drama, no one was raging. Like, was it true, or was there still a few moments on Vancouver? Or did you guys just genuinely get on and have a nice time?
Honestly, it was like the best year because we just got on and like we were living in Vancouver, is such a nice place. Like we're in the middle of the city. There was nothing really to complain about with how it was set up. I think the only thing was when HeeSang came in and like he did his, thing where he'd like click on his mouse really loud if we were getting shit on and like kind of do a silent tilt. But besides that, the only other problems we'd have with like the team was if we double booked or someone had double booked and we'd had one scrim planned for the day, we'd show up for 2 hours of work and then it'd be like, right, see you tomorrow, guys. And then like we had nothing to do. We'd just go off and live our normal lives, which was pretty good. So um, there was no set reviews or anything like that. It was just very, very relaxed.
So we did the day-to-day under Laurie's regime. What was the day-to-day in Vancouver like? Was it? I guess it was never free blocks, right?
How many
Uh,
Gibraltars in one day?
I don't think we came close to the record, but we had no academy team to just be on call at our begging will. So Laurie probably had them chained up in the Gillette room, but we didn't see them. So I don't know, we'd wake up at like what time does swim start on the West Coast? Was it
It
10?
was 10, yeah. So we would
Yeah,
do
10.
mod
Yeah,
at
okay.
9, so everyone would have to be awake for 8.
Yeah, wake up at 8. We had to be. I'd go for a swim. Me and Hongi would go for a swim. I taught him how to swim a little bit, which was quite the experience. Faith, he never swam in his life, and then we went to the local pool and did some laps, which was fun, for an hour before. Get a coffee, show up to 15 minutes before scrim starts. So 9:45 scrim till 12 to 1. Go to the gym, have a snack, chill out, and then 1 to 3 scrim, and then after that, if we like felt like we really did something wrong or needed to review, then we'd do a little bit. But I usually felt that if we did review before the next day, it was like more valuable than doing it after
Yeah,
everything.
I agree.
So we kind of just would save it for the next day, and we'd show up like half an hour earlier rather than 15 minutes. And then past 3, it was like you just did whatever you wanted. We'd go out, get some food, just live normal people lives, which was brilliant.
Must have been so fucking good. You
Yeah,
know,
it
when
was.
people get out of jail and you just think, oh, everything and it must be so fucking good.
Yeah, the
Greater
color, you can smell
appreciation
it in
for
the air.
everything.
Yeah, it's like we were on the top floor of this fucking skyscraper in the middle of Canada. I was like, shit, this is good. So it was a big jump, and I think because it was lucky that Dennis Barroi was the GM as well, and so he knew Ascoft from Boston. They were good mates, so he brought him over, and he knew obviously all the Boston boys would work in that sort of chill system. I think it was only like a gamble on Lenny, who like no one, I never knew anything about him, so everything was pretty planned to be the way it went, and it worked out.
Was it quite a tight group? Because when I think, say about the American Tornado Corps, and I think about like Kaluge, Hydra, and I kind of feel like I can see how these guys would be friends, like personality overlap. But when I
Yeah.
look at like the core of you guys that went from Boston to Titans, and I'm thinking you, Crimzo, Faith, it doesn't like in my head. Personalities don't strike me as
Doesn't
like, oh
strike
yeah,
you.
these are the guys. This is the gang. This is the core.
The
But
boys
yeah.
going out. I I was good mates with Lenny, which was good. Like he's pretty normal bloke as well, so we were good friends, I think. And then he who shall not be named was actually pretty okay as well at some points, but it was kind of that point where, you know, my perception of him changed. Anyway, Faith, lovely bloke. He's good mates with him now. He asked me to come to Paris with him.
He wanted you to do that to him? Jeez. Far out.
You know what they say, teach a guy to swim and then...
Oh boy.
Spent a bit too much time in our budgies, I guess, but
Oh, good grief.
so we got on, and then same thing with Ascoft. Like he was not a coach. Like he wasn't an authoritative figure in our team. Like he was just one of our teammates. It felt like, so we'd hang out with him too, and then so like everyone was good mates with. Crimzo kind of did his own thing, which no one was. Yeah, that's just how it goes. But everyone else, like we were pretty tight knit group, which was good.
Because obviously you were the most successful Vancouver team of all time, presumably. Since the original ones, right? Like since the
ones,
yeah. But it also felt like you guys were very much. It's funny because Ascoft was messaging me a lot before he got the job, and when he was at the end of Boston, like he felt very much the way he was talking. He's, I really like the way you did on London, right? Like, you just play your own thing. You're just a group of guys. You're not being all toxic, not doing all this. But I also feel like the way he read our situation, like that's actually not how it was on London. At least not the day to day, right? Like your day to day sounds very different to ours. Like ours was a little bit more, I think, Korean schedule for the most part. But I feel like it really worked for you guys. I think you, especially like, I remember in the second half of the season after there was a slight incident with one of your players, and then you guys were super solid at that dive once HeeSang came in. How was that transition from some player to HeeSang?
It was tough. I remember getting the message from Lenny because like we'd see each other every day, so we wouldn't really like message at all. We just kind of talk to each other in person. And then I got a message one day. It was either on the off day or it might have been during the break before the next stage started or something. And he just said like, "Hey, you there?" Or like, "Hey, you want to talk?" Something like that. And I'm like, "Fuck! Like this guy's gonna leave the team. We're fucked. Like it's not going well. He's getting traded." But
someone else was leaving.
Yeah, someone else was leaving. He told me all that, and I'm like, Jesus. So it looked pretty grim for us when that happened because we had our options. We had our assets on the table. We were like, Venom gets on base. He can play Tracer. He can speak English. Like, he will do the job. But we trialed him, and like it was just kind of like we would have just been so much more mediocre, I think, with someone like him. And then our other option was Sharp, because Crimzo knew him from back in the day, and so did Sugar Free. So they hit him up, and we played with him, and he was pretty good. Besides the fact that he'd missed the last 4 years of playing the game.
Yeah, no way, man.
So he,
gap.
yeah. So it actually turned out to be like that accumulates to about a 2x damage in every single scenario that we had. But again, lovely guy, and he was good at comming and had the right idea.
Great comms,
and we were winning though. Like we were winning all our scrims with him on Tracer, and I'd press tab, and he was getting 2x, and I was like, okay, well, it's not. You can't really logically say that that's going to be a good option for us in the long run. So we didn't go with him, and then I think the only other thing was like we heard that Shock was getting a new player when we scrimmed them because Barroi was like, oh, HeeSang's on the bench. So we inquired about Shock and ended up paying his buyout or something, doing some sort of deal with them, but Shock didn't want him like in the house anymore for some reason, and so they wanted to get rid of him. I don't know why, but he had to go, and of course he had to get a Canadian visa, which would have taken a little bit of time. So he ended up staying with our old Boston manager in California, his parents' house, playing on a setup while he was getting a Canadian visa. And like we played with him, and he was by far the best, didn't speak English, and we would just let him roam. Like he would play soldier, we'd let him roam. We'd kind of ask him what he thought, and he was He was always just like, yes, I'll do it, or whatever, until sometimes he had a silent talk. But it was pretty seamless, especially in that meta, because it was like Tracer Sombra. Lenny would play Tracer Sombra, and he didn't really have to do much calling. He just kind of had to run around and connect with people, and he was good at that. So
It's his best hero, I think, really, as well. So like
Yeah.
lined up.
And
Yeah.
again, it would have been that thing where he'd come off shock, where like he was getting shit on by like everyone. Everyone thought he was really bad. Like I'm pretty sure I thought he was really bad, and then he joined, and like the shackles were off. He was free, and like he just played so much better. So it worked out for us, really.
Yeah, I was shocked at how easy the transition felt. I really felt like when I heard the news, I realized how hypocritical it is for us to say Sinatra every single week, but we're scared to say Aspire. I feel like we really got to like set a standard here and say both names. But I thought this team was pretty good. But I swear you guys got better. Did you feel that too? You got better?
100%. Because Aspire wasn't the best at Tracer. Like he could play it, but he would also have his fair share of like bitching and moaning, and that like just brought down everyone a bit. The mood and just in general, like the way he played, he kind of wasn't open-minded and just wasn't getting better at Tracer. Whereas we just had this guy who is best character as Tracer. Like for sure, we definitely got better, and I think he not saved our season. Oh yeah, probably saved our season, because like otherwise we would have got Venom and just would have been mediocre for the rest of the year. But he boosted us and like allowed us to punch up with other DPS who were like sick, and so there was nowhere, like especially in DPS, where we were like outmatched, I felt. So
Should we so you guys obviously have a pretty good regular season. You didn't qualify for the mid-season, right? Or maybe you made the play-ins but not the offs. Like you
yeah,
didn't I mean, yeah.
we didn't. Yeah, we missed out by the like getting into the double bracket part of the mid season, and it was because the fucking Gladiators lost against
Okay,
Washington.
see.
They got 3-0'd against Washington, and it was like, what the fuck? Like if you just beat them, we would have been in the double bracket, and like we would have versed a bunch of more manageable opponents. But we versed Shock in the mid season with Hisu, and like they were playing their really random shit where it was like
Yeah.
Orisa, Mei, Reaper, Kiriko, Moira or something. So we just
Oh yeah, that was fucking ugly meta actually, that one.
probably needed some review to fix that one. But yeah, we didn't end up making the playoffs, which is probably my biggest gripe of like my whole career, is just not making playoffs, which is pretty grim. But at the same time, like we did super well in that the dive meta, which I was happy with. So
Yeah. Because I guess that's like the next thing for us to talk about is maybe what I feel happens in every single Overwatch League team is when playoff happens, that's when you just go Lori mode. Like every team opts into the fucking Lori grind where every team is booking free blocks, every team is going hard. Like there is very much this idea for every single team in playoffs where I'm just going to sacrifice every waking minute of my life till the season's done. Then I've got months off, right? Did you guys, when you mid play-ins, get on the grind, or did you just keep things as they were?
I think we did a little bit more, but like at the very end of the playoffs, like we kind of got fucked because the meta changed, and so we would either verse Toronto, who had their like a Larry bullshit, or we'd verse London with the fucking Ryan comps, and so it was like we have to figure out a way to beat one of you, and we just couldn't do it and that's where I think the lack of review and like communication and stuff with like Hisu, because it's hard when you have too much like it's a too relaxed setting where everyone kind of just takes their foot off the gas a bit and didn't really feel like there was that extra push that you're talking about for the playoffs. So I think that's probably where everyone on the team probably wish we did a bit more. But yeah, we got fucked by meta as well, because we just clicked on that dive stuff, and then otherwise we had to figure it out, and it was hard to do that with like a silent DPS and stuff like that, despite everyone being super good still.
Yeah, it felt to me that if you guys couldn't play Ana, your power as a team was cut in half.
Yeah.
It felt that obviously the reason London got so good at that meta was because if we could play BAP, our power level doubled too, right? We had the GOAT on BAP. And it felt, obviously this series that's on the screen now against Toronto was heartbreaking because actually it looked like if there was ever a comp to beat the Toronto one, maybe a Lucio Genji with Ana and Nanoblade and stuff looked really reasonable and it was almost there. But against us, you guys fully went BAP and fully admitted that your original comp couldn't work. What was the logic behind that? Because I VOD reviewed before the game against you guys. I prepped in the morning for the full Ana stuff. I had every single like TP where we need to like disengage these nanoblades and everything. And I kind of saw you guys roll out on BAP, and I was like, oh, okay, then at least we know what to do.
Which one?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the 50% battle with playing you guys was just knowing that we're gonna play you, and like you just had that edge over everybody in the league because it was like shit, we have to play London. That's why no one wants to scrim you, no one wants to come up against you in playoffs, is because like you have that Ryan BAP so down that teams are gonna have to really think about it to beat you, and like Boston kind of did that, and we were on the right track, but I don't know, we fell short a little bit, but I feel like that's the closest we've ever been. But I don't know, especially playing like Ana and Monkey into those comps, like you have to be perfect. Your nades have to be perfect. Like everything has to like kind of work out, or you just get fucked like in 2 minutes. So it was kind of that thing where we just made the decision to not do it. But then even making that decision to like play Orisa, I think it was, yeah, Orisa Bastion, it was just like we're not playing what's best for us already because we're not on Ana, like Jesus not on something that he can go roam on. So it was like we kind of knew going into that would just be so much harder, and it almost worked. But yeah, I think Crimzo is definitely an Ana pusher. He will go down playing Ana till the day he dies and like always advocate for it. But yeah, I think that's where it probably lacked for us in the roster. But
I remember saying to the players as we went into it, because we were talking about it, and you guys at the time mostly in scrims were running, I think it was like a Rissa, Genji, Soldier, and a Lucio against us. And you had all these ult combos and ult rotations, and we were trying to do loads of stuff with Sim to TP away from it. I remember thinking, like, it's just going to be a 50-50 in terms of, like, do we manage to TP away from X Nanoblade or X ult combo or whatever? And then you just played what at the time looked like a mistake, but obviously you mostly just played for Boston comp, right? Which ended up actually being a comp we couldn't beat, at least versus Boston. So at the time it felt like a weird decision, but I guess with how badly we did against Boston, it probably wasn't really. I don't know. It's a hard one.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like we were on the right track, and there was no comp that was just gonna like outright beat it, or there was no way that we could figure out in time, or like a formula to beat you guys, or like a certain way to play. It was kind of like, okay, if we hit our nades, we're gonna do it, and like and then it just becomes if you guys TP away. So it's just there was a bit of a running joke in the team where we'd like try and review and we'd figure out these things, and then we'd make the conclusion. It's like, well, at the end of the day, it's a skill match. Like it was whoever kills the other guy, and so that came from the relaxed culture, but also the fact that there was like reviewing and figuring out full strategies for us was going to be difficult in the first place. And so I think our best chance was just to gamble on that, and yeah, didn't work.
This last map, we had to have like our defense, if I remember right, we just had like insane clutch after insane clutch on third point. Like it was.
Oh yeah.
It felt like.
Did both of us cap on circuit?
It felt like you should have capped.
You were
we unbelievably.
Yeah,
we just like
right.
clutched.
Landon like turned water to wine or something with Admiral. It was like 15 seconds of Lucio BAP stall or Lucio Kiri stall or something.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
I remember. Yeah, the whole match kind of had that, and yeah, map 5's fucking killed us. I don't think we won a single one, to be honest.
Someone wasn't performing on map 5. It's just the issue. So it's a good thing. We can do the outro scene when we get there. Crimzo's map 5 greatest hits. Like.
Not very clutchy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good to know though, like especially during the dive stuff that like and everyone in that meta felt like we were all super confident and we knew like we were really good at that and we beat a lot of teams. Like the only people we'd struggle to obviously were like Atlanta, and then for some reason we'd have Houston's number and we would just always beat them in scrims on that meta. We ended up losing in the match. So maybe they were just sandbagging, but and then New York I think would come up late in the meta as dark horses or something, but everyone else we were pretty comfortable beating in like the head to head. So
Like, you really thought you could stand up to the felon?
yeah. Just type felon and it was instant like a plus,
Yeah,
plus 10%
Just an
boost.
immediate loss. Yeah, I was trying to find that punk is calling video, and the first thing I did was just go to my fucking DMs of Kellen because I would just send that guy rubbish that he didn't understand for years.
Yeah. That's how you make friends, isn't it?
I don't know if I made friends in the case of Kellen, but I did get him to text me on my US phone number a few times. So
Yeah,
that's
you got his.
You got his number?
no, one of the fucking New York guys texted me Grunter the other day while I was at the gym, but I don't know which one it is because there's like I don't know. There's like 3 different New York phone numbers that just occasionally text me Grunter, and it's like I don't know who's who anymore. Could be Fitz, he could just be fucking road hogging it back. Ruined career, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean that meta was good because we just had we had Faith on Brig, who was fucking insane at Brig, and
So
then
good, actually.
Crimzo, Anna. I figured out Monkey a little bit. Lenny was fucking sick at Sombra, and then HeeSang Tracer. Like we were all super comfortable, and like that was probably the best time of the whole year because we were loving it. We were playing well, and then we'd go off and sink some piss or go do whatever, go to the movies. Like it was great.
What's interesting as well is I think I said this to Chris throughout the year as well, especially it's maybe particularly for Crimzo and Faith as well, because I think Crimzo and Faith are one of the better backlines this year. And there were lots of good backlines this year, but I don't think Crimzo and Faith were the top of or near the top of anyone's list pre-season. But the whole team in general looked quite well coached.
It is so funny, isn't it?
Yeah, it felt like an organized team who had a good idea of what they wanted to do. So then you get HeeSang in, and it's well, he's just fitted the system. I guess they've just sort of plugged and played him into the thing, and it all just seemed to click.
Yeah,
what do you put at?
HeeSang was a victim of all the torture over at Shock, right? I don't know if you covered this while I was shitting my brains out. Okay, well then I'll take it back. Let's move on.
Got the torture buff.
Everyone got this. I
He's
wonder
got the Bev bog. I mean, yeah, he should just fit in, and it was really him setting up the culture at Ascoft at the very start, where we kind of just were able to talk about it. And Crimzo obviously had a lot of ideas about how to play Anna, and then we'd talk about it, not so much of exactly you did this wrong at this map, this certain points in the game where I think a lot of other coaches have their feedback. It was more okay, what do we want to do in general, in these situations, and ults, and we kind of just had a system of okay, we don't have this ult, let's do this. We all understood exactly what to do, pretty much all the time, which was probably the best thing because we just had it in our minds and we were all on the same page, and that itself is half the battle with especially mixed teams. I mean, yeah, mixed teams at that point, so it just worked.
Honestly, that's all Overwatch coaching is just getting 5 people to know exactly what to do in each ult situation. It's not super complicated. I think it's just if you can get a structure for how to ult advantage, how to use ult disadvantage, and then maybe a couple of set plays with EMPs or anti-EMPs.
Yeah,
95% of Overwatch fights are going to fit into those same categories, right? It's the game is not unique in any way. Oh, I have Primal, they have Nano. Yeah, that's going to happen every single fucking scrim block numerous times. Learn how to play that fight and then do that.
Yeah, it was really simple. We'd beat 70 on EMP, and it's okay, just wait for EMP and Lenny go farmer, and he would do good at farming it, and everyone was good at what they did, and then it clicked. There was no situation where we were oh shit, what do we do? It was yeah, we don't have an ult, we'll play solo, or we'll go hide or something. And then you also had the clutch factor of maybe Crimzo's hiding and hits a big nade or something. Like everyone kind of had their own moments, or HeeSu would just stick someone. So yeah, it was a simple meta for us, but it was very very easy.
Well, it's also a meta that actually loads of teams really struggled with and couldn't play and couldn't perform. And when we've talked to other people, they often talk about, especially in that first part of the season, being a bit where that's where the season fell apart because they couldn't find success on that comp. And then that just derailed their entire mental for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure everyone, like, there were probably a lot of question marks. Like, even I remember checking the teams at the very start of the season before, and just like on paper, like, where are we gonna rank up? And I was like, shit, like we're gonna be like 10th or something. And that's kind of like realistically where I'd put the team. Of course, wanted to do better, and I think everyone was a bit shocked at how well we did. Like towards the middle of the year. So yeah, I was happy with that.
Before we leave planes, actually, I feel like we kind of skipped a little bit over the Toronto one because you got reverse swept, right? And then maybe the Dorado pick at the end feels like
oh yeah,
that's
was
like the biggest question mark in terms of like decision making going into that.
Yeah, like, even Circuit Royale against you guys, like I didn't want to pick that map because you could play Ryan on it, but I guess you're gonna do that anyway. So
they've not made a map
didn't
yet.
really
We couldn't
matter.
do that on.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember. I think it was Ascoft who wanted to pick Dorado, and it was like a bit strange because we didn't have a Widow player. Like, although I think HeeSu on the first round or something like shit on Hydron, and then at the very end, in like, it was one of those cases where we just lost our heads a bit. Like we'd capped the map, we'd done the hard thing, and then like either it went to our heads of like, oh, nice, like we're sitting really well, and then it just kind of gets away from you, and then it's like, oh shit, it's slowly and then all at once, that sort of thing. And then you're in overtime with less time, and it's like, well, shit, we're just, it kind of felt like that pressure came from out of nowhere. So like we didn't have a reliable Widow player, and so picking Dorado against like a proper Widow player was probably a bit questionable, and like it just opened up a bit of a weird world where we didn't really know what was going to happen. Like I don't think we practiced it a lot, but I guess we were playing not to pick another map, because I can't remember what the other escorts were during the time. It might have been circuit or like
I remember
circuit.
It's probably good Sigma maps,
Yeah. So we're probably like we'll steer clear of those because why not? And then I don't know, just like we definitely should have won that because we'd capped and we'd done the hard bit, and then game should be over. We should just be able to form a defense in the whole of an escort map. But I think it then turned of like HeeSang got killed a couple times, and then just got away.
So it was the Korean guy's fault, just for clarity.
Should have put him
that
in
guy.
there.
Yeah, we shouldn't have picked him up. We should have.
Who was Vancouver sponsored by? Did he have a sponsor?
Red Flag or something.
Red Flag blames the Korean guy.
The red
You
flag
needed the red flag
room.
segregation chamber. That's what you needed. Would have sorted it
Sit him in there by himself. Nah, it was just one of those fucking games where. Oh well.
Hydron just had a generational performance,
There's always next season.
That's all right. Hydron shot a deflect and killed himself and killed his team's chances of going to playoffs as well. So that's nice.
Oh, that was better than the win, to be honest. Seeing those guys lose.
Seeing Majed walking up to a Junker Queen comp, fucking 90% on trank, and seeing Hydron kill himself at a deflect. I mean, those are moments that priceless.
Even in the fucking the most recent flash ops, I think, where it was the Hawk Lenny team.
Oh, watching them lose was amazing.
The fight, I remember because you were casting it, but the final fight, Sam just walks onto cart as May and just forgets that he shouldn't waste his ice block, and Lenny just goes, I'm gonna freeze him out, He just freezes the whole team. Like I love watching people lose. It's such a cynical thing. I think everyone does in Overwatch especially, but like
you're muted.
When I've been on my fucking streaming scrims arc, I'm telling you, watching a team lose is way more fucking fun than win.
I
I'm in.
agree.
I'm into Hearthstone these days, Battlegrounds. I have a streamer I watch because he's just a whiny little fucking bitch, and when he's losing and fucking crying, it's just I fucking love watching it. I antagonize him in the chat and stuff. You know, it's
Yeah.
fucking, it's just the way to do it. But you're right. Watching a team lose in a high pressure environment with their comms, it's genuine. Whatever you say about it, it's genuinely good content, and obviously no one wants to show that. But I mean, if you don't get people to watch, you
It's
don't
the
get
stuff
paid.
that people watch though.
It is
Like
100%.
that's why people watch comms, and I still remember it's from the Toronto video where they lost and Kalush just goes, "We're choking." It's just like that's probably like one of the pieces of content that I remember. Everything else is like half garbage, but for some reason, watching people lose is so much better than watching them win. Like
That gif of Sephi like falling into his desk, genuinely dying at the desk, is probably like top 1 gifs of all time for me. Just seeing the agony on his face as he loses to Gladiator.
oh yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
So that healed our season a bit, to be honest. I think we were watching that game in the TD Bank room, and we were we were loving it. So
TD Bank room.
Was everyone allowed in that room, or?
yeah, no, it was employees, so we were all there.
Oh, good.
So you guys getting some financial advice just out the
Yeah.
blue, like Honji getting investing
just
advice. What was
as
that
well.
all about?
Yeah, we got two seminars during this season on how to invest, and they had Overwatch clips, and it was just at the point where Aspire had been kicked off the team, and they had like majority of his highlights, just like with the background like stock music, like it's just like fuck. This guy's telling me to invest in the stock market and the global,
Don't follow that guy's
general
advice.
portfolios. Don't do the penny stocks, and it's just like all right. So
He always likes to invest in an up and coming company, doesn't he?
yeah, it was there was a lot of content we did on that team actually. That was what else filled our days. So yeah.
In general, was Barroi more involved then than your experiences on Boston?
Yeah. On Boston, he was a coach, right, and like analyst because he did the Winston's Lab stuff, and because Boston had him, like he only did it for our team, and so he wasn't too involved in like coaching and stuff. But then when I was having a hard time, he like ended up coaching me a little bit and helping me because it was nice to have someone not trying to berate me the whole time. And then after that was like while I was benched, and then I came back and I can't remember exactly how it went, but basically Laurie had blamed Barroi for making me worse and said, "Why did you make him worse? Don't coach him, like blah blah blah." And then Barroi was like, "All right, you can have my Winston Lab, but I'm gonna go walking in the forest for like 5 hours a day." So that's what he did his whole time at Boston. So, but yeah, on Vancouver he was top. He was he was there every day. He was in the same room. He would organize like our general like day-to-day stuff of like food and where to go and content and all that. But then he'd also be the kind of upper echelon of management where he's like doing the contracts. And he's genuine. Like he's not after you. He's not trying to play you at all. So it added to the environment of just like relaxed, and it was nice.
Good times all around then. I think one thing that's maybe an interesting topic to touch on, we kind of talked about it a bit earlier about why you were in Boston after getting out of Australia. You were so keen to stay out of Australia because it's so hard to get out of that scene. With the potential unknown mysterious future of Overwatch now.
News this week, guys. News this week is coming.
Yeah, news this week for sure.
We'll know this week for
Stay
sure.
tuned.
How do you feel as a person who's going to have to maybe potentially have to try and escape Australia again in an even more difficult situation?
I mean, it's got to be pretty good for me to try and chase after it again, to be honest, because it's getting to a point where it's not worth it, especially if there's no security. Like the league was good at providing housing and everything and making sure you had a job for that year, at least when you weren't on Boston or a lower tier team. But yeah, like I think going into next year, if the league stayed the same, I'm pretty sure most of Vancouver would have stayed, except for like a couple, or maybe would have changed like one or two people. But so I don't know, just going in now where it's like general esports and kind of having to do just tournaments, it's not really feasible for me to go over unless it's super worth it. So I don't know. I'll have to stay tuned for the news this week, but see if it's
Stay
good
tuned, mate. It does seem like there's
Sorry.
going to be like a mega correction coming pretty soon, if it hasn't already kind of happened without people realizing it, where it's just like, almost anyone that is going to be involved in Overwatch this year probably needs to come to terms with the fact that it's going to be worse than being involved in Overwatch last year and the year before. Like if you were a pro Overwatch player, coach, whatever it is, like you really, even if you were in a fucking Gillette torture camp with Laurie, that was probably still about as good as it's ever going to get for you in terms of you have like a good contract, job security wise, and you're getting paid to live overseas and stuff like that. Going forward, like nobody knows, is there housing? Is there any form of job security? You sign a fucking contract in crayon with people from a different country, and then they don't honor the terms anyway. Like it feels like it's going down in terms of security for everyone.
100%,
yeah, and if we've gone backwards, then a lot of people are probably going to take a little bit of a look in the mirror and be like, damn, I'm 26 years old, unemployed, living with my mother, not looking at anyone in particular here in the call. But yeah, if you're like 26, unemployed, living with your mother, single, Australia, Melbourne, maybe you're thinking, maybe this isn't. Business degree.
You got the master's, mate.
Masters in business, not a bachelor's of science. Then you got to be thinking like, should I do something else with my life other than watch people play video games or play video games? Because if it's not a lot of money, you can probably do better, right? And I figure it's a similar case for you.
Everything's gonna be worse. Like it's hard to go from something that was so good last year to something that's gonna be like how it was when I was like starting all the academy. It's like I don't have the drive to do that anymore. Like a lot of why the young kids get so good is because they play all day every day. It's like I don't want to do that. I don't want to play ranked because like I tried playing the other day. It was dog shit. Like it's just not. I don't know how people are trying to keep practiced or whatever, but I think the flash ops are fun and the little tournaments, like if they had, the regional stuff in Australia, then I'll play in those, but it's not going to be worth it unless there's some sort of guarantee, because it's just like, I can't keep flying back to and fro Australia because like, if I get kicked or if the team goes to shit or there's not a tournament, like it needs to be somewhat similar of like in the money way, in the like lifestyle way. It's just, but that's not going to happen, is it? So it's
I mean, there's just nothing to build towards is the reality of it. Like we've gone to the point where like tier 2 in NA was worse than tier 1 than tier 2 in Australia. Like tier 2 in Australia in 2019 when I was playing, you got a couple of trips overseas in the year, just for being involved. And then you look at tier 2 NA, even if they're getting some more prize money, they get fucking nothing for it. It's nothing but online games all year long. And then you look now and it's like, maybe there's going to be a couple of tournaments throughout the year, but that's not as good as living in the States for a year in a team house in the Overwatch League with everything paid for, right?
Yeah, it's not the same. It's not something to aspire for.
Oh, aspire. Nice. Have we even covered the fact that Punky has had 2 teammates booted? Did you cover that?
He's had,
because he was with Muffin as well.
Muffin.
No, you replaced Muffin.
I
you were with him.
Well, Bruce and Muffin were on the same team, and I replaced Brucein because Brucein wasn't. He wanted to go home, so. But yeah, Muffin replaced me on the academy, so yeah.
Weren't you with Mikey as well? So you've got quite a trio of.
Did he get kicked out of the league?
You're a bad influence, is what you are, mate.
You know how they say there's no smoke without fire, right? You can go a step further and go, well, if there must be a fire, well, someone must have started the fire. So potentially Punk is the fire.
And he was at Billy Joel's concert.
Whatever
Billy
you do
in the garden, don't knock it, mate.
Once in a lifetime. Punk's DMs. There is probably some outrageous things with your hackers Discord.
What has he been doing to his teammates?
Yeah, Mike is on the first team. He was the ball. He was the Itzal of that year. He played ball. And that was it.
Always need a ball guy.
Yeah, I suppose.
Well. Future
New
of Overwatch.
New soon.
Another week. Give it another week.
Next week we'll have
It's
it.
coming.
That's it.
Well, it'll
All
just
your
go back
favorite
to being
players
a
will be coming back.
It'll probably just go back to being a hobby for a lot of people more than
Yeah,
a real career.
My feeling is literally this. I think if you play for the best Overwatch team in the world and you win the esports World Cup thing, you'll make more money than you will from Overwatch League, assuming that you actually get like paid the prize pool and stuff. I don't know. You never know. But I think what the Overwatch League did was it gave, hardworking white men like us, it gave us a salary, gave us a room to sleep in sometimes. It gave us a room to be separated from our peers. And I felt like that type of thing is gone. It's very much if you're winning prize pool, I suspect there will be some org involvement, but I think even the org involvement is going to be so minor compared to what it was.
Or it'll get, as much as like on this podcast, we talk about a lot of, I guess, like the bad characters and the misdemeanors from a lot of Overwatch League orgs in terms of how they manage it. There was at least always some protection for the players in terms of getting paid. Whereas when you go,
paid, you're right.
Yeah, when you go to the Wild West, especially in like a scene that might be just gagging for any org can come in, the orgs you will get coming in to try and exploit this might just be the bad actors and the ones who won't pay you or won't follow through or will sign you to a horrendous contract. An Uprising Academy style team.
I'd have done it.
My Australian contenders team, they promised me a boot camp or the money they would use from the boot camp in our pockets, and didn't see any of it. So
yeah,
more teams like those will just come in, and it's like those are the orgs that are just run by people who want to have a team. It's not like a affiliation with sport team or something. So it's less professional and structured, obviously. So it's just like it's gonna be tough to keep it going and to make it worth it. Especially like if I lived in America, sure, like you'd play in the tournaments and you could win prize money. But it's the thing where like who's gonna pay for me to come over and live there, and it's like I just don't really want to anymore. So
yeah,
pack it up.
It's done, boys.
Well, Overwatch is over, but I think the quiz is just starting, so there is some light on the horizon.
Okay, so
just because Overwatch is over, keep giving us money for Uncoachable, by the way, because Uncoachable isn't over. Just for what it's worth.
It's actually really possible. Now, if we keep making episodes, eventually we'll come to the solution for Overwatch to save it. So you just keep funding us until we come to that solution.
And then you could be in the credits for the people that saved Overwatch too. We'll put your name at the end of the video.
Put the name at the end of Overwatch.
All right, should we do a quiz?
Quiz it.
All right, okay. So I know, Punk, I know you watch the quizzes all the time. I know it's your favorite highlight of the episodes every week.
Yeah, it's the segment of the week.
I heard you skip to the quiz before watching the main bulk of the program because you fucking love it so much.
Some people only watch the quiz.
That's it. We did one a few weeks back, and I'm sure you know this. I'll catch the viewers up in case some of them didn't watch for some reason. What I'm going to try and do is we're going to determine who is the best tank that's ever played for the Boston Uprising. So I'm going to give you two names, and you tell me who you think is the better player of them. X and Unter are going to guess, so you let them guess first. If they get it right, they get a point, whatever it is. And then we'll go through all the fucking millions of tanks, and then what we're going to come to the conclusion of is who was the best tank that you had to attempt to kill in your history, okay?
Okay.
So we'll start with an easy one, and if you didn't play with any of these, let me know, because there's a fucking long list, okay? So Itzal versus Stand One. Okay, so don't say yet, Punk. X and Unter guess, and then you come in and give us the answer.
Okay.
It's got to be Stand One.
Yeah, I reckon he put Staniel ahead. He was fucking schmeat at like everything before.
Yeah. Just by default. Poor idiot. Lovely bloke, though. Lovely bloke.
All right. Okay.
So many lovely blokes.
Stan, did you play with Axiom?
A little bit, like when I played on the academy and I was on call. Yeah.
Okay. Stand one or
Alright.
Axiom?
Oof.
Gotta keep.
I've got
going
my
Sam.
answer. Yeah, I'd go Axiom actually. I reckon Axiom if his eye's working.
I'd probably say Axiom too.
Fuck.
Okay.
Australian bias.
Axiom or Mikey?
I feel like I want to say Mikey, but I feel like when Punk played with Mikey, it might not have been true.
That's a good point. I think I'll still put Mikey above.
I might go still. Yeah, I'm still Mikey pilled.
I think Mikey.
Okay. Mikey or Fusions? A tough one.
Mate.
I'll let you go first, X. I already have my opinion.
The problem is, I know Fusions watches the podcast.
Does he?
Yeah, she
Oh,
does. Yeah.
Yeah, he sent a message
mate.
being like,
Yeah.
good
Shout out
episode.
to Fusions.
I
Yeah.
swear I was good.
So, on that basis, he must be a pretty intelligent guy to invest his time watching this podcast. So, therefore, he's an intelligent player.
He's got a huge head, so
Gotta
a lot
go.
of brains in there.
Fusion.
Fusions is worse for sure. That's 100% worse than Mikey. Like, there's no
Fusions is
way.
worse.
Yes, bro. Come on. Just because he's
No
loud.
way.
Get the fuck out of here.
Fusions is great. He's the future. That's
One more
Gets
year.
on
One more
base.
year.
Gets on base.
Go on
So you're
then,
putting
Fusions or
Fusions above
Mikey?
Mikey?
Fusions is better than
Yeah.
Mikey.
Okay,
Fuck.
Fusions up there.
Sorry,
UK
Mikey.
strong.
That's okay. Fusions or Gabe Belusi?
It's
The big
It's
three
gotta-
match wonder.
it's gotta be Fusions.
Fusions is like clearing the list at this point. Like Fusions is going to be above everyone by this fucking metric. With what he's just thrown the spanner in the works of putting Fusions up top.
What am I
Like,
saying? Is Fusions better than Gabusi?
That's right, yeah.
Like a better player.
Right.
Yeah, we're talking purely player, not like fella factor or anything here.
No
Just,
fella.
A
Oh,
bit of fella
mate,
factor in, I think.
I'll put Gabusi. He
Oh.
stuck it to Laurie. He stuck it. Not really. He just like didn't say anything and then just got kicked. So all this hype for nothing. But
He still gets the top of the Boston tank list so far.
that's the top. That's it.
Mate,
Well-
listen, there's one more to go, but I've been ranking them. So the fact that you said Fusions was better than Mikey was better than this, which means that Gabe Busey
Yeah.
so far is the best tank. Okay. Then the final round or the penultimate round, Gabusi versus Mag.
You're missing one.
there's
Wait,
Marvel.
are you? Yeah.
Oh yeah, true. He's coming next. Don't worry, guys. It's on the bottom of my list, I promise.
Wait,
Gabusi or Mag? Oof.
I mean, I reckon Mag's got to be.
Yeah,
I
I'd give it to
right?
Mag.
I think.
Fuck Mag, dude. Come on.
Okay.
He's an asset. He's an asset to any team.
Oh, fucking. So is
Big Mag versus Big Marv.
fuck,
No,
me.
Marv had heart, bro. Marv had
Marv.
heart.
Yeah, you know Marv.
I think. Oh, fuck. I don't know.
Can we count skill at games that aren't Overwatch? Because Marv played heaps of those. Like,
Big Rust.
Probably not.
Big Rust fan.
guy was crazy at Dark and Darker, like all season long.
Marv came home one night pissed from drinking with like a collegiate team or something and just said, I love you, Punk. I love you, Punk. I love you. And it's like the only thing he's ever said, really. And then 2 minutes later, he went and spewed his guts up in the team toilet.
But anyway.
That adds into my ranking. Just so that's
I'm lost with these rankings, so fuck
Mag
it,
versus
just-
Pussy, right?
No,
No,
Mag versus.
Mag Marv. Mag
Marv.
Marv.
Oh, Mag Marv. Oh.
I'm
Fucking put Mag at
gonna.
the top.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Marv.
Mag.
Oh
go with Mag.
shit. Okay. Then the final one, the big decider, Mag versus Punk.
Punk clears so
It's gotta
fucking
be
easily,
Punk.
bro.
It's gotta
Punk has
be.
beaten every single one of the players on this list to death with his bare hands, bro. Like you think he's come into full Korean rosters and come out on top as the sole Westerner, fucking speaking in broken
Wow,
English.
dude.
Like no one else has achieved this feat so consistently. Hawk couldn't
You
do
still
it.
want the Gladiators.
I feel like your career is like Game of Thrones. Like we've got all these rebellions. Like when you were saying that the Washington army was gonna come in and swoop Boston, I was like, that's like the Stannis
From the north.
Baratheon. But then
From
there was
the
like a
south.
fucking
It's coming.
French rebellion who came up here, and then there's you in this fucking gladiator combat. You were the winner, right? You would have picked yourself over Mag. Let's be real. Let's keep it real on this podcast.
Yeah.
Okay,
Bro,
good.
Punk's career is fucked, actually. He's got 3 cancelled teammates. He's got a French Revolution. And he's killed like 100 Koreans.
A French success.
And the torture chamber. Don't forget.
Yeah,
He's
and the
just a
torture
survivor.
chamber.
He's just a survivor.
He just is, mate. He just
Can't keep
I
him
managed
down.
to squeeze in Billy Joel in there at the garden though, so
He's
all
not
worth
just
it,
surviving,
yeah.
he's thriving and going to Billy Joel.
that's it, mate. You can't keep a good man down. That's what I say.
fuck.
All right.
Shall
so,
we?
As always, we don't know who won the quiz, but
I
we'll
wasn't
figure it
super
out
keeping
later.
score.
This
We'll
could have
fix
been
it
an
in
next
the end.
one.
I feel like I always lose the opinion ones. I do okay in the like remember the names of people who played Overwatch ones, but when it's an opinion, no good.
All right.
X,
Yeah.
do you remember when you shit talked me and Mooney on Darksided?
No.
Just day in a life for X, mate. Just shit talk.
Mate,
That's
That's
so
stuck
with
unlike
me.
him too.
When?
Like,
Stuck with me
When?
for 6 years.
When?
It was before the first LAN in Australia, and there was a team photo, and for some reason where we were boot camping, there was a big tank in like the background, and you said, "Oh, good. Then there's only one big tank in here who's decent," or something like that.
I don't remember this at all.
Mate, it's stuck
I
with me.
stand by
Yeah, that's fair.
it.
Not a coward.
We won that land though, so it all worked out. I take 100% of the credit.
Spilko had a panic attack.
All right. Client of the week.
Client of the week.
All right. Any suggestions? I've got 2.
I've got 0, so let's hear
I've
him.
got 0 pitch as well.
All
Go
right.
on,
So
Chris, set 'em
the
up.
first is my good friend Venture Pronouns. So you guys
Oh,
know who
I
this
can bring
is.
it up.
The Reddit poster. This person made a comment. I love how originally when we started doing this podcast, all the comments were these guys fucking hate Koreans. But now if you suggest we hate Koreans, you get downvoted. Like we've like turned the tide. Like that 9K episode, we've actually beaten the fucking allegations. Like, it's unbelievable that we fucking pulled this off. Here we are on the upper side of it. But I just fucking loved this comment about how, oh, is this the one that like promotes anti-Korean stuff? And then immediately gets downvoted, and you can see the panic in their eyes as they get the downvotes. Like there is nothing worse to a Redditor than downvotes. Why are people downvoting me? It's because you're accusing us of racism, mate. That's not a fucking. I wish people
It's a big
realize.
allegation.
It actually is
It's
though.
serious.
Do you know what I realized the other day? If I get a future job and people search my name, this fucking Libs of TikTok shit will come up, and people will just be like, "Oh, Chris, a well-known misogynist, like known misogynist." it's a fucking fact of nature that everyone fucking knows it. He just is,
Oh, Chris, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Fucking
No,
Oh, misogynist
racist.
Chris. Yeah.
It was the same. You know, the other day, Chef Billy, good friend of the show, when he called us all out for this fucking Asian racism thing, this guy's on my fucking like wedding photos liking it, and I'm like, how contradictory do you have to be to accuse us of fucking racism and then be like, yeah, but their sounds, like I fucking like them. Like surely people realize that when you start to fucking accuse people of like contributing to Asian hate, that it's actually a genuine fucking accusation. So anyway, Venture Pronouns for fucking accusing us of something that we don't do and then immediately crying because you don't get the right color upvotes. The second one I want to do is I posted this in the
Some
give me a
passion behind that client of the week.
Yeah, no, there's hatred.
There is, mate. It's this. Okay, so I don't know if you've seen this one.
Oh, Canale.
So listen, we've talked about OG in the LFT tweets and stuff like this, and a lot of people do LFT looking for the Saudi job. Okay, that's right. Now, I think one thing that's very true is if you're trying to get one of these like Saudi jobs, you have to really try and appeal to them, right? You have to try and get on them side. But have you ever seen a tweet which was more not even trying to hide the fact that he's just trying to fucking suck off the Saudi community, you know? Like he's just so desperate for a job, and the only thing that he's doing with this tweet is, oh, I just want to become one of the Saudis. No, fuck you, dude. This is just not the way. Post LFT for Saudi, it's okay. But I think that this is like, it's too obvious that you're desperately trying to like appease them, you know, like trying to get them all inside so you get a job. I think that's not how it works. So I think that Kalios is a much fucking better job. How do you mention it? Kalios is more subtle than fucking. Kenya's like, oh, they destroyed us at World Cup. Ooh, fuck off, dude. It's so obvious what he's just trying to do, trying to get the fans on side so that they like him and they get him a job. So I think, in my opinion, that's a client tweet. So there were my two. Has anyone else got any fucking clients this week?
Why did Kalios take a screenshot that had Dupedia still in the screenshot of the Saudi
because
flag?
he's a
Like, I don't think
client.
that's of the main Saudi flag, you know. Like, surely there was another image available, right? There has to be.
In the Dupedia segregation chamber.
Unbelievable.
All right, so that was my ranting for the week done. I'll get some more next week.
Yeah, I think the venture pronouns case is a little more solid from my POV. Because just looking at the thread, the way that they're like desperately begging and sobbing about why they're being downvoted.
They keep coming back to it. Two edits. They keep coming back to it.
Double edit, a reply.
And like
more and more panics as well.
My
and then people just keep piling on with like more trolling. Like, no, they really defended Hitler. They really defended Hitler.
One for you, X. I thought this was interesting. So this guy, I fucking love this guy. Throw away Pokemans, whatever. I fucking love this guy. He was making me laugh so hard with his comments. But he says, Commander X literally not to defend Hitler. They are extremely problematic. Okay, good tweet. And then your friend Joe Boko7 says, can I have the context for that quote? And he replies, the context is he defended Hitler. And what Joe Boko said about UX, and you should think about this, is I don't doubt he said a terrible thing. I just want to speak for myself. So Joe Boko7 thinks it's well in your wheelhouse to be defending Hitler here, X. Do you have any responses to the accusation?
Yeah, no, Joe Boko just comes in like, well, obviously he said something horrendous. Of course, like, I know you would say something horrendous, but could you just give me the specific combination of words he used to say something horrendous?
TKX, I know you.
These people are fucking insane. It's like you were calling Avala Hitler, you know? Like, you're not defending Hitler, you're defending Avala. Like, what's wrong with these people? And it was Chris saying it as well.
I've no doubt he said it. That's just classic Commander.
You know? No doubt from Joe Boko. Like, he's on the right side of history. Like,
it's never too late to get on the other side of history to Hitler. You got to make sure everyone knows what side.
Hey, X, you were looking up people who are worse than Hitler. Like after the next
that
best
was also
thing.
Chris.
Now,
that was also Chris.
No, I mean,
it takes me,
Commander X.
That's it. I searched who's worse than Hitler, and the only one that came up was Laurie. So here we are.
At least no one will try to defend him here on this podcast.
No,
there's no in defense of Laurie section.
Right, literally
Valentine. Yeah.
Was there anyone on Boston or Vancouver who was a particularly big client?
Like
just
Derby?
like
yeah, just like
doesn't know how to exist in the real world yet.
Faith, Halo, and Mikey.
The big three.
Yeah, the big
Big
three. Faith
Why?
didn't wash his sheets once.
Whole year?
Yeah.
2 years.
I had to chuck him in the wash from halfway through.
I must have been so cum-ridden.
Cummy sheets.
Coming back from the swimming pool, it was,
That's why he's taking you to Paris.
Yeah, he was a bit stupid. Good bloke, though.
That can happen.
I'm very, very good friends with him, so.
What about the others?
Halo would order Burger King every day, and like a pyramid, probably like the size of those towers in my background, just like accumulated, and you'd open the door and waft. Just
Did you
wouldn't
not
know how
get
to live.
food every day?
We did, but
Which is
you
additional
get one
Burger
meal.
King?
So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
they were more of a like a chicken tenders person. So they would.
Wait, chicken tenders from Burger King?
Yes. Yeah. Apparently, it was a big thing. So it would just stack up. But yeah. And then one day, I think Mikey's pretty known that he just drank Coke like all the time. So he's a bit of a client at that point in time. And then at some point there was someone who came home, or was just, I woke up in the middle of the night, woke up in the morning, and then in the middle of the night, someone had, it was either Halo or Mikey, had threw up in the sink and then not cleaned it up.
Oh,
God knows why they didn't clean it up, but, you know, sent a message, guys, if you fucking throw up, clean that shit up. Anyway, happened again 2 weeks later. No one owned up to it ever. It's still a mystery to this day, so
that's pretty rancid, to be honest with
it
you.
is.
But
There's a lot of people who, could do with some improvements in
in life.
Well, hopefully they've come a long way. You know, it's been a few years, so
Yeah, exactly.
a lot
Good
of room
blokes,
for
though.
personal growth.
Good bloke,
Did,
though.
did
Like
Faith get better over the 2 years?
Yeah, he learned how to live.
That's good.
Yep.
That's the Ascoft.
Did you learn how to
bloke.
wash your shits?
There's always, I mean, I don't think so. That was only in Vancouver. So. But there's a lot of those stories, like, what was it, sauna and tossing salad down the toilet or
Aye,
something?
classic.
Yeah, sauna flushing salads.
Dante not knowing how to wash clothes either. Like, it's the esports pipeline.
It
Yeah.
is.
Learn how to
This
live.
is our talent.
Talent pipeline never dries out. So, venture pronouns.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Venture
Right away.
pros.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe joke. Yeah, go on. Venture pronouns. You got it. I think it will really upset them too. You know, like I think
We're gonna
that
get
would be-
a forfeit.
They're not going to watch.
on that
They're not
post.
going to watch the podcast to know that they won it. You know,
But that's
like
it,
anyone
but
that
someone will
comments that shit
yeah.
doesn't watch.
That's true.
I like for people, because all the people who comment don't watch the podcast, but want to just like check in that we're still as problematic as they think we are.
They could be one of those good
Yeah.
ones that skip just to the quiz. You know, like just for the
Yeah.
quiz at the end.
Quiz head.
Yeah.
I hate all the anti-Korean stuff, but I love the quiz. So
Fucking love
I only
quiz.
watch the quiz.
All right, shall we stick a fork in it?
Wait, one more segment, mate.
We've got to rank the guest, and
Mate,
I've
one
got
more
Oh.
segment.
I've got a brand new thing
Oh,
from
yeah,
one of our
new
fans.
fancy graphics.
Or
You should. Yeah. Okay, go.
this was made by Wink, who very kindly made us this site to help keep track of our rankings. So
Does it
I
have the
know.
supposed to be
ability
saying
to add
something?
it and move it in?
Yep.
Yeah. Join the Discord, mate, and join the screen share.
Can you even see this channel? Maybe not.
No.
Yeah, I can drag him.
There you go, mate. Don't worry.
Yeah.
We should probably fix that in future so our guests
Yeah,
can see
that-
what we say.
Lovely. I'm with you now.
That's it. All right. So here's the rankings. All right.
So
What do you guys
technically,
think?
we didn't give Rack a number last week, so he's just sort of put it in the order it was on because we did the like SABC. But I'm actually
He's where he belongs.
I'm happy with Danny. Yeah, Danny
Yeah.
above Rank in the tiebreaker. So I can add a punk button, and I can drag and drop him somewhere.
Am I crazy? What do you guys think? I think this could be one.
I actually think this is one because this is like a Gumba episode, but with a human instead of like a robot designed to coach Overwatch and like increase performance. So I think there's a very real chance that this is number one right now. That we're looking at the best we'll ever get on Uncoachable.
I think this is number
Jeez.
one. I think this is a good one. Am I the crazy? I think maybe I'm going too far, but I think they're actually going to fucking hear the stories of what Punk's saying. They're going to write articles about this shit. Actually, no, like I'm not
Yeah,
even.
I mean, this-
I actually don't think I'm
Dude, I-
joking. Like
This could be money for the Patreon. This like exposition of the exploitation taking place at the Boston Uprising. You
Are
know,
we going to become real journalists, guys? Are we
we
journalists?
fucking whistleblowing this story. Richard Lewis didn't do this. Foreign
No.
didn't do. None of these journalists.
Richard Lewis
Richard
just
Lewis-
jerks off about how shit Overwatch is.
That's it.
He
Blocks
walks
it
in,
all
he has
over.
the whole fucking scene blocked.
On Uncoachable, boots on the fucking ground, mate. Where
Why is it at the
Disney-
bottom? The
Wait, hold on.
graphics struggle.
Yeah.
Oh, this website is actually totally cooked, by the way.
It's
It
fucking
doesn't-
white text on a white background too. Like, oh, good grief.
Hold on.
Fucking hell.
I have faith.
Just trying to blind the viewers, man. Like,
Jeez.
Can't fix that in
It,
post.
it does. This is good
Oh, well,
content.
there you go. That's just the
Yeah.
All right, he's have a top. He's have a
Alright,
top.
And
It's,
the
it's a little
Summer's
bit.
dead. Plug it. Yeah.
We're
And
actually
Rafa,
going to
Give and take with me, I guess.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think.
Congratulations.
I'm sure
Stop
we'll
going
fix
around
it.
about.
But I
Wink
think
will
number
get on
one.
it. We'll get Wink on it for us.
I think this is it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you might actually unironically be right because we've sort of had a good laugh about it, but I feel like there's some real exploitation going on. And some normally the mismanagement is just like a little bit more comical, like just incompetence. Like maybe when we had Shockwave talk about Vancouver, but this one feels there's like an element of malicious, like aware of what's going on and intentionally letting it go on.
It's like too much willful ignorance for one poor young man to
Yeah, that's the
stomach.
word.
So again, another uncoachable exclusive, right in the wrongs of history. We are not problematic anymore. We are the good guys going forward.
Yep.
Thank you for that, Punk.
That's all right.
All right.
Letting you know.
So yeah. I hope you do play the Crimso's greatest hits as an outro for this episode because, like, really,
You want all three of it? It's going to be a long one, so.
I mean,
make
you
it
can
work.
just put it in post if you want. Only the first two are good. The third one is so, but the first two are absolutely like incredible Crimso moments where it's like, if you want to know why Vancouver Titans could not win a map 5, just look at that cunt. Like, it's actually fucking embarrassing, dude. You know, like a full ult advantage, every single skill available, just dead, didn't press a button.
Dead.
Winnable fight, walks off the map. Like,
You can stand on an Overwatch one, though.
yeah, the guy's like a 5-year Overwatch League veteran, and he just can't fucking hold his mouse still on map 5. Can't press a fucking button on his keyboard. Sweating bullets.
Do you remember the one on Oasis?
That's
Where-
the
that's in there?
That's the first one. That's the first one.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's like you have like I think you have 3 ults to nothing, and you just Faith beats for nothing. Crimso windows without seeing anything, and then he dies with shift and lamp. Like, just astounding. Like, really astounding. He also missed getting the beat because he hid from his own beat. Like, he fucked everything up. It's really bad. So hopefully X can find a way to play that over our faces right now in
sure
post.
we can.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Wait.
All right.
Episode 10.
11, I believe.
11. Fucking hell,
Yep.
boys.